and 36-year-old Mark Light. Faye claims while managing her bed and breakfast, they stole money from her and wrecked her car. Kathy and Mark are countersuing for harassment and an assault.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 437 on the calendar in the matter of Haas versus Light. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
You are the owner of a bed and breakfast.
Yes,
According
ma'am.
to your complaint, you had hired the defendant to manage your operation when you were out of town. Your complaint is that Mrs. Light wrecked your car and additionally stole a substantial amount of money from you. Mrs. Light denies wrecking your car and, of course, to stealing any money from you, and in addition has countersued for harassment and an assault that took place while she was in your employ. So, Ms. Haas, when did the employment begin?
Well, Kathy came sometime, I was critically injured, and it was sometime in July, and Kathy came and said she needed a job, that she'd never been able to get one, and would I give her a chance, and she's never, to my knowledge, had any kind of job at all, so I said I would give her a chance. But I didn't check any of her records or anything.
That doesn't make you a very good business person.
No, it doesn't.
So she came to work for you in July of the year 2000?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you leave?
Well, actually, I didn't leave till October, but the incident when she wrecked the car, the two cars in particular, were us on September 30th.
Tell me about that.
Well, I was over with my boyfriend, who's now my husband, and I was over at his house in Red Bud, Illinois, and I had asked Kathy to bring me some money over. She was on my checkbook, and I asked her to bring me over $800 that we needed some money for some improvements we were going to do. So we were sitting at this like little bar and restaurant, and she came over there and she was highly intoxicated, and they asked us to leave the bar. So we took her down to Randy's mother's house, and she asked us to leave too. So Randy took Kathy up to his place where she insisted upon driving. She took the truck, and Randy was going to show her how to get to the road. It was a country road. She had a girlfriend with her who was not intoxicated. She hit the Camaro from behind with the Mazda truck and then went back to St. Louis. So she damaged not only the Mazda but the brand new Camaro, which I have saved all my life to get.
Okay. Did she continue in your employ after September the 30th?
Yeah.
She did?
Yeah.
Until what date?
Probably about November 11th when I came back from Florida, when the guest staying there had complained that she was doing a lot of narcotics.
Don't tell me what the guest said unless you have guests there.
All right.
November 11th of 2000 is when she was terminated.
Right. I had called her on the phone and said there was a lot of complaints against her. So
the whole month of October,
yeah, she was
and
there.
for part of November, even
Yes,
after this accident, when you knew she was drunk and created scenes in two places,
Right.
you continued her in your employ.
Yeah, because I felt sorry for her. She said she had cancer.
Ms. Haas.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You should be.
I wanted to keep her on because she needed a job. She told me she did.
All right, now tell me about the theft of money.
Well, she wrote like a lot of checks. I mean, she never would keep any records, and she wrote like $500 for food, but she never bought any food for the bed and breakfast guests. So then she wrote $500 for her boyfriend, Mark, to remove a tree limb, but it was never removed.
Well, I'm not going back to $500 for food. I will take a look at the paper that you have with regard to the removal of a tree limb.
Okay. Here's the tree limb is still there.
Well, this says payroll and tree service.
Kathy was not even there. I was paying her $10 an hour, but she was never there more than 20 hours a week.
Well, you know, Ms. Haas, who do you think is going to go over all these little receipts? You were paying her $10 an hour. She wasn't there for 40 hours. She only should have been paid for 20 hours.
She was supposed to send me her time record in Florida, but she never did.
Who were Randy and John?
There were friends of mine that I paid to have them drive the car up there, but Kathy seemed to have take a liking to John for some reason. I don't know.
Whatever. She's got a check here that's a memo for Randy and John.
Yeah, that's for Randy, my husband, and a friend of his.
She told me to cash a check and give them $1,000 to Randy and John to drive her vehicle up to Florida.
She did that.
Well, that's one of the things you gave me.
She did that.
What
but
about,
then there was that additional
just a second,
$500.
what about $500 in cash for a phone recorder?
She had asked me to purchase a phone recorder so she can record conversations as she's talking to people. And she had a limo that was being stored at some people's house, and when I quit, I didn't even worry about getting her phone recorder. I just went and paid for the limo, gassed it up, and brought it back.
That's not true, ma'am.
Is that when you quit?
Yes.
When did you quit?
She got fired.
I quit on November the 11th, 12th, something like that.
Well, this check was written on November 5th. This is before you quit.
The check for $1,000, it was the day
I didn't ask
after.
for $1,000. I'm going to pass the $1,000.
Yeah, the check was wrote for $1,000. I quit the day after.
She got fired.
Just a second. Miss Haas?
I'm sorry.
Don't speak out again.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. You quit the day after you wrote out the check for $1,000?
Yes, because
Fine.
I didn't like
So,
it.
you wrote out a check on November the 3rd, payroll and tree service, $400.
That was my payroll, and
What
marked it
payroll for whom?
for working for her.
So you kept your own hours.
No, Miss Haas and I had made an agreement that I would work so many hours, but she had me running errands to lawyers and doctors, which made it consume more hours.
This is all a very loose way of doing business. One final check I'm going to ask you about. You have a check to mail packages and x-rays, $500. What's x-rays?
I had to go to all these hospitals that she was in and get all her medical records. I had to Federal Express it overnight to her.
Oh, is that true?
It's $20. They were $20.
Show me a bill.
I don't have a bill for the x-rays.
Well,
but
how am I supposed to have a bill, madam?
Well,
And
maybe she
this was
does.
on October. You're supposed to keep close eye.
I was in Miami Beach, Florida.
I don't care whether you
I know,
were,
but I was
don't care
critically
whether
injured. I
you
was
were in
in the-
Panama. Listen to me.
I was in the hospital.
Listen to me. Then you don't give a stranger.
I know
a
that.
stranger who you know has an alcohol abuse problem.
I know that, madam.
You don't give somebody who you hire off the street access to your checking account.
I know that.
Right? Sign them on and have no set salary for them and say they work by the hour.
It was $10
She
an
said,
hour.
well, you expect me to ask her on the 19th of October how many hours did you work?
I don't know. I was in
Well,
the
I don't know either.
I was in the hospital at the time.
On October 19th?
I was trusting her.
Well,
Yeah,
then how do you expect me to deal with that? How do you expect
don't
any
know.
court to deal with that? I don't know either.
I mean, the car...
Let's get to the accident because that's the only thing that may have an objective facts
All right,
that I
well,
can deal
he
with.
was a witness for the accident. Randy, can you come up here? It's my husband. Tell her what happened.
Okay.
Well, we called her from the bed and breakfast to have her bring us over $800 to Redbud. And she was highly intoxicated. And I tried 3 or 4 times, to let her stay at my house. She wouldn't do it. She refused. So I took her out to the end of the road. She ran to the back of the car.
Had you been drinking?
Who, me?
That's exactly who I'm talking to, sir. Had you been drinking?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. What part of the day or night did this happen, sir?
It's probably about 8 at night.
And when had you started to drink that day?
Not at all.
Miss Haas?
So,
Miss Haas?
okay, sorry.
Believe me,
Okay.
I know my business.
All right.
Watching this will be like looking into a Ouija board.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Faye Haas says former employees Kathy Light and Mark Light stole money from her business and wrecked her car. Kathy and Mark deny the charges and say Faye assaulted Kathy with a plastic baseball bat.
What time had you started drinking that day, sir?
Probably 6:37
And where were you drinking, sir?
at a bar.
And what time had you arrived at the bar?
I wouldn't.
What do you mean you wouldn't know? What time had you arrived at the bar that day, sir?
Probably 6:37
From where?
from...
I don't know. I don't know. He doesn't remember.
Miss Haas, I'm not going to take any information
All right,
from him.
all right.
Forget it. You blew it. You
I'm
understood
sorry.
where I was coming
But
from.
he doesn't know what time it was.
He doesn't know what time it was because he was drunk.
No, he
Sit
wasn't.
down.
No, he wasn't drunk.
Oh, I have to assume that because if he can't remember where he was on a day when two cars collided, I don't believe you.
We were waiting for...
I don't believe you
Okay.
that he doesn't remember where he was.
All right.
If he doesn't remember where he was on this fateful day, then I have to rely on her statement
He was with
that
me.
he was drunk as a skunk. Now, she may have been. That means you got 2 drunk people driving in your 2 cars, one a Camaro and one a truck. He was drinking and she was drinking, if I believe you. Although I have a little bit of a problem with that because unless there's something wrong with you, you would not allow someone who is as drunk as you claim she was, that required her to be ejected from the bar,
I asked her.
ejected from her mother's house, and yet you would still leave her in charge of your business, giving her total access to your checking account, relying on what she did with money, relying on what she did with guests, to somebody who was clearly a danger, according to you. I have a
I'm
problem with
sorry.
that, Miss Haas.
I'm sorry, I'm wrong. You're right. It was stupid.
All right, Ms. Lick, tell me what happened with the car.
She had called and they had asked for money, and I had a friend of mine, Jesse, ride over with me. Well, when I got over there, she buys Jesse and I one beer. She takes me across the street to a flower shop, buys me a bouquet of flowers, and then she insists on going and unloading the truck. So we went to Randy's house and we unloaded the car. And as far as the car, there was no accident. I get home and I get this phone call from Miss Haas saying I wrecked her car. Well, them two are both drunk, so I just basically blew it off.
But after this car incident,
I continued to work for her.
you continued to work for her?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's get to your counterclaim. Go ahead.
I quit working for Miss Haas because she would call me on the phone and cut me down and say I'm dyslexic and this and that, and my nerves couldn't handle it no more. So I call her on the phone in Florida and tell her I quit. 3 weeks after I quit, she's accusing me of all these things. She's trying to fire me after I quit.
So let me hear about this harassment.
She has been calling, my son and I have pagers. She has been calling our pagers. She calls my son and tells him that I'm a dope dealer and that she's going to have to take him to baseball games because I'm going to be in a federal penitentiary because she's going to see to it that I go to a federal penitentiary. I went and got a restraining order against her.
Let me see it.
It's not true. Kathy, shame on you. Shame on you.
Ms. Haas, you consented to the entry of a restraining order against you by your counsel. Is that right?
I was in the hospital and I could not go. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
The answer is yes. If you're in the hospital and you can't go, then your attorney asks for postponement.
I don't know what he did, ma'am.
Of course you do.
No, I don't. I really don't, Judge Judy.
He consented to this entry.
Well, he went there supposedly to postpone it.
December 20th of the year 2000. Yeah. He consented to the entry of an order of protection.
Well, I'm sorry about that, but I've never laid a hand on Kathy. She wanted me to adopt her.
And the order of protection specifically says you are not to
I want nothing
abuse,
to do with
threaten, molest, stalk, disturb, and no telephone calls, and shall not communicate with her in any way whatsoever.
Right.
Now, you came back from Florida on November 11th.
Right.
And according to you, you told me that you were in the hospital in Florida.
I was in the hospital in Florida, in Jackson Memorial Hospital and Mount Sinai.
Well, what'd you go to Florida for?
To get another opinion on my arm that was going to be amputated.
And when were you admitted to the hospital? When you returned in November?
2 days later, a week later, I was admitted to the hospital for
So that would be the 18th of November.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
And how long were you hospitalized?
2 days.
Were you re-hospitalized at any time after November? Believe me, I will check.
No, no.
So that you were not in the hospital at the time that your attorney entered a consent order. You just said you told him to go there and not do anything, put it over because you were in the hospital.
I could not leave the house. I was not allowed to.
Just a second. So that you were not hospitalized as you originally said.
But I had a nurse at home and I could not leave the house.
All right. It's a month later. Month after your surgery. People recover from open heart surgery faster. After this order of protection was issued, were there any other harassing phone calls?
Yes, I have them on tape here.
Let me hear.
Okay.
Hey, Mark, it's Ken. Guess what? Lisa and Paul are going to testify in court. What kind of guy lives with his brother's wife? Low-life Hoosier.
I said that.
Yeah, Mark, it's Faye. I got the restraining order from the sheriff. We never had any intention of hurting Kathy, but I am going to file criminal charges against you, Mark White, and Kathy White for dealing methamphetamine, marijuana, prescription drugs, not only out of my home, but my place of business. We're going to bring up Kathy's past arrest record. So when you show up in court, you better spend about 10 grand to have a very, very good attorney. We are not threatening you. We want nothing to do with people like you, Mark and Kathy Leach. Have a nice evening. Yeah, Mark, it's fine. Have Kathy send me the money for the 2 cars she wrecked when she was drunk on her. I mean, that night that she dealt methamphetamines out of my house. End of messages.
I also have tape here of her calling and leaving messages. I will go ahead and play this for you.
How did you and Kathy for dealing marijuana out of your house? The sheriff will be down there. Either pay me back or you call the jail. Yeah, now tell your girlfriend Kathy Leach, also known as a major drug addict, to bring Get your tickets to her, and I'll pursue your tickets. So, what a woman.
Okay.
I said that. I did. I was
That letter?
I was frustrated.
You were frustrated. You were breaking the law.
Okay. What? I'm sorry about that.
Huh?
I'm sorry
You were
about the
breaking the
attorney.
law?
I'm sorry about the attorney I got to go down there.
Well, that's not my problem.
I know
madam.
that,
That's your
but-
problem. You were clearly aware that you were served with a final order of protection. Final order of protection said absolutely no contact, and specifically no telephone calls.
She had all my records at her house. How was I supposed to get them? Go down to her house? Her neighbor's very dangerous.
I don't quite frankly care what precipitated it. All I care about is there was an order that you were made aware of by service, because you indicate on this that you
But I
had
asked her why she was
No,
doing that
you may
to me.
not ask a question.
I was asking you why she would do that to
You
me.
don't
right?
ask me any questions. I'm telling you. You were served with an order. You were on notice. You continued to harass her, and in addition, you violated the order.
And as far as her abusing me, she would hit me with plastic bats and wooden and metal canes.
When did she do that?
When I was working for her.
Why didn't you leave?
Mark had made a joke to her about telling her that she had to stop hitting me and leaving bruises because she would have to pay $50 for each bruise and $100 for blood, and we was just joking about that. But that was to get her to stop hitting on me.
So insane. So nuts.
Listen to me.
I'd leave too if somebody did that.
This is certainly not a think tank here. However, if I'm working for somebody and they even think about hitting me, I'm gone.
I know, but...
I know. They don't make a game of it.
do it.
Every time she hits you, leaves a bruise, you get $50, $100 for drawing blood. I mean, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Your claim against her is dismissed. You have no proof, and I'm not satisfied with hubby's proof that he wasn't responsible for this accident. You have no tangible proof that she stole anything from you. You do have proof, however, that she continued, despite the issuance of this protective order, to continue to call you, which is in violation of the protective order, and on the counterclaim, I am awarding you $500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Gail McCracken is suing former friends and landlords, Kathy and John Labrum, for the return of personal belongings and for attacking her 16-year-old son. The Labrums are countersuing for damage to their home.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom.
Your Honor, this is case number 262 on the calendar in the matter of McCracken versus Labrum. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
No good deed goes unpunished. Miss McCracken, according to your complaint, you moved in to the defendant's home with your family. You were having a difficult time. You were living in a small apartment.
Right.
You have 3 children?
No, I have 4, Your Honor.
Did all 4 children move into the home?
Yes.
So they allowed you to come and live in their home with an agreement that you would pay some modest rent.
No, that's not true.
No rent.
This is what happened. This is what happened.
Just a second.
Kathy.
Just answer my questions.
No.
Let me
that's,
talk.
okay, that's not true.
So there was no agreement to pay rent?
No agreement at all.
Fine. So that they invited you to come into their home with your 4 children out of the goodness of their hearts?
No, we had made an agreement. Okay, this is the agreement. She took my dog. I think it was August. Yes, it was August when I moved into an apartment. I couldn't have the dog there. I stayed there in the apartment for about 9 or 10 months. I don't know.
I just get to the point.
Okay, I'm sorry.
What was the arrangement? Either you were going to pay them rent or you weren't going to pay them rent.
I can't answer that because I had moved in and Kathy had not given me, we had not sat down and talked about the amount yet because they were too busy going through my stuff.
Oh, right. Just a second. So what you're telling me was when you moved into their home with your 4 children, there was no agreement to pay rent. That's what you said.
No, I'm sorry. Ma'am, I'm nervous. I am nervous. I'm tired. There was an agreement. We had not discussed. I can't say a total amount because we had never came to agreement on the amount of money. She needed to go over her mortgage payments to find out exactly how much it was going to take to save her house because her husband was a loser and
Miss
didn't work.
Miss McCracken, don't editorialize for me.
Okay,
the moment you moved into the house, I'm speaking. At the moment you moved into the house, you did not give them any rent. Let's do that.
Oh, no. I gave them money before I went in to the house. And I gave them food stamps.
Just a second. Did you give them any money when you moved with your 4 children into their house? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
How much money did you give them? I'm not talking food stamps.
$60 I gave Kathy before I even moved into the house because she needed to send it to Las Vegas to her friend named Jet.
All right, $60. What other money did you give her?
I got her son some diapers and
I'm not talking about Sun Target. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. So
I was only
if
there a few days.
But your stuff was here much longer.
Miss Labrum,
I'm sorry.
I don't want you to talk to her.
Okay, I'm
Because
sorry,
you
Your
won't
Honor.
give it to me.
This is what your lawsuit is about. You say that he assaulted one of your children.
Yes, he
which
did.
That's
forced
not
you.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm going to put you out.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Which forced you to move out of the house. And when you moved out of the house, you didn't take a lot of your stuff with you, and you're suing also for $5,000 for your stuff and for the assault on your son.
Your Honor,
what
that's correct. Kathy assaulted my son Saturday night, my son Michael. She hit him in the face with a book. They were in the garage going through my stuff. She claimed this book belonged to her, and she attacked my son and hit him in the face with it. My son turned around and called the police the next morning on her, and John lied. John lied to the police and told him that Kathy did not hit my son because he didn't want his wife going to jail because he knew he didn't have a job and they'd lose the whole house and everything.
If that were the case, why didn't you move out that day?
I'm going to tell you,
I'm sorry.
Miss Labrum, do it once more and you're out. Do you understand? You don't want to be out of here.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I was really upset.
Okay. Now, is that the attack that you're talking about?
No,
That caused
Your
you to
Honor.
move out?
No.
Well, let's hear about the attack that caused you to move out.
This happened the next day. My son, after he had called the police on Kathy for hitting him in the face with a book, the next day John took it upon himself to tell my son to get the F out of his house.
And how old is your son?
16.
Okay, is he here?
No.
Where is he?
He's incarcerated.
For what?
I don't really want to say, Your Honor. It doesn't matter. It
does matter.
It does.
Okay.
Okay. Listen to me. Sit down. Maybe that'll keep you quiet.
Yes, Your Honor.
The next stop is the door. Okay. So tell me about this alleged assault by John.
John told my son what happened.
To get out.
Yes, to get out. Michael said, no problem. He's laughing. And he started to get up and walk out. John jumped up and rushed my son. Tried to push him through the window.
Were you there?
Yes, I was right there. Kathy was right there.
And you
John,
witnessed
he
it.
jumped.
And you said he jumped up and pushed him.
Yes, he tried to push him through the window. And then my son turned around. They were fighting. Both of them were fighting. And Michael ended up getting John on the ground. And he started choking him. I mean, you got a 40-year-old man jumping a 16-year-old kid. That's uncalled for. And I didn't know what to do. I'm not going to jump in the middle of that. I mean, I didn't know what to do. I would like for my son to explain because he's the one who helped get Michael. You be quiet. I'm sorry.
Listen,
he helped get Michael.
Listen to me. I'm basing my decision on what you tell me. You were a witness. And there was an argument between this man who told your 16-year-old son to get out of the house because he had just called, I'm speaking, because your 16-year-old son had just called the police on his wife. You were living in the house or whatever. Clearly, it was a bad idea. I'm not interested in the assault. I'm not interested in the assault. Let's get to the property. You ultimately moved out.
I moved out
that
right
day.
after that. Right
Fine.
immediately. I grabbed what I could and I took my kids and got out of there because
you didn't take. Listen to me. You didn't take all your children. One of your children stayed with them.
No, we all left. He went back. My other son. That's why I'd like to call him up here.
Just a second. Your other son went back. For how long?
Well, about a month and a half.
Step up here. Tell me your last name.
My last name is McCracken.
How old are you?
I'm 18 years old.
You went back and stayed in the defendant's home for, according to your mother, a month and a half after this incident.
Yes. Yes.
Why?
Because I was having problems with my own mother.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gail McCracken says former landlords Kathy and John Labrum won't return her personal property. Gail also says that John violently attacked her 16-year-old son.
Okay. Now, you weren't afraid of the defendant?
Oh, no.
You weren't afraid of his wife?
No.
So you were having difficulty with your own mother, had absolutely no fear of the defendants, and went back to live with them?
Yes.
Did they charge you any rent?
No.
They were very nice to you?
Yes.
They took care of you?
Yes.
Good. Sit down.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I also want to bring up the fact that I don't know why John turned against my dog. This is how this all started.
God.
I had them take care of my dog. Kathy agreed to take care of my dog while I lived in this apartment. Okay? And then half the time, John would call me up and say, Auntie Gail, oh, Auntie Gail, would you mind babysitting their little boy? Well, they would bring their son to me and leave him with me for 3 or 4 days, and I'd have to call him and say, you guys, you have to bring some diapers out.
Is this after you moved out?
This is before.
I'm not interested in before. You want to tell me something about your dog?
Okay, this is what happened. Because I had to live in the apartment, they took my dog, and while they had him there, he ended up with cancer. I had to get treatment for him. And then John kept calling him Neck afterwards, and I'd like to present this.
Listen to me. When you left, listen to me. When you left, hey, you're not listening to me. Your dog was living in their house for a long period of time, even when you weren't living there.
Right. Kathy agreed to this.
I don't care what she sounds like a very nice person to me. Now, you say something happened to your dog. You want to tell me about what happened to your dog after you left their house, after the altercation?
Yes, I do. I went to go, that Friday, I had the Fresno Rescue Mission. They had provided me with a truck and a driver and another guy to help move my stuff. I went over there to get it. Kathy decided not to let me have my stuff. And we argued about it, and I said, yeah, I just want to get my stuff, that's all. And she says, give me the key. As soon as she got the key in her hand, she ran over there and hit the garage door and shut the garage. I tried 3 times to bounce it back up.
The dog, madam. Oh, yeah. You want to tell me about the dog, which is what I asked you.
She goes, oh, here, take your dog with you that I've been taking care of. And when he came out, he had a stab wound, and it's just blood running everywhere. He was oozing. And the vet said that that stab wound helped the cancer to come back. And I had to have him put down not even a month after this.
Miss McCracken, something wrong with you. I don't believe that somebody who took care of your dog for months because you couldn't keep it, kept your 18-year-old son for months without charging him any rent because they felt sorry for him. I'm speaking. You told me in your complaint that they stabbed your dog to death. Now you tell me.
Death. I never put,
Now you tell me that they stabbed your dog with a screwdriver, is what you say here. Our dog died. This is devastating. Now you tell me that this stab wound caused the cancer to come back, which is what the dog
said, Your Honor. He was a family pet.
I'm going to deal with this case very quickly. Mr. Labor.
Yes.
You say that you wanted the stuff out of your house.
Absolutely.
Where is the stuff now?
She has mostly everything. We have like maybe 20, 30 boxes of basically letters and knickknacks and stuff like that.
Okay, where are all these letters and knickknacks?
They are on our back covered patio.
Okay. Miss, you're showing him a tape. Is it on the tape that the boxes are there?
No.
May I speak?
No, I didn't ask anything yet.
I'm sorry.
The tape,
Good.
The tape is the day that they picked up what they could on one load and some of the damages to our home and the infestation of cockroaches, which that's why I was going through their stuff to rid the roaches so they didn't infest our house.
Can I please present this to you, please? These people are not the nice people that you're claiming. I mean, I'm not
claiming that they're nice people, madam. I'm just saying that you're not going to pull the wool over my eyes.
I'm not trying to pull the wool over anybody's
Sure you are.
All I've tried to do is get my stuff back from day one.
Perfect. You're going to get all your stuff back within 3 days. You provide the mover. After 3 days from today, if you do not show up to pick that up, your stuff can be thrown out. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Listen to me. Thrown out.
I hear you.
You have 3 days from today.
I do understand you.
3 days.
Thank you.
3 days.
Honor, I want to say one thing. I don't think it's funny at all. My dog's dead. My kids have gone through nothing but pure, I can't say the word, that they put us through because I had to leave because he attacked my son. And the police didn't even do anything. I mean, how does a grown man attack a kid?
Listen to me, madam.
It's crazy.
Listen to me, madam. I don't believe that there was an attack on your son. What I believe was that there was an altercation between these two people, and the altercation was precipitated by the fact that your 16-year-old son called the police on his wife after they had been good enough to let your family move into their home without paying them a dime. Things couldn't be as terrible as you suggest because you're 18. I'm speaking. Because your 18-year-old son, rather than going with you, I'm speaking, went back to live with them, expense-free, for a month and a half. For a month and a half.
Built-in babysitter.
Built-in babysitter. No, he said he was going back to live with them because he was having problems with You!
He also didn't tell you everything that he witnessed, Your Honor.
Miss McCracken, you're not getting a quarter, not a penny, not a sou.
I don't
You're getting
care.
your
I
stuff
just want
back.
my stuff. That's all
Perfect.
I've
Then we
ever
don't have
wanted,
to
Your
talk
Honor.
anymore.
May I speak? Please.
No.
Please.
But Your
No.
Honor,
Oh, my
this-
God.
No, not yet. Madam, you are getting closer to that door.
My heart is...
You're getting closer to that door. When I want to hear from you, I'll call you. You got it? Now, let's talk about damages to the home. That I want to see. Now your wife can stand up here. She's getting closer to being able to speak. Closer, not there yet. Stand up. Okay. I'd like to see the tape.
There you go.
sure than a porno.
That's the carpet right there. There's no padding. The dog chewed the padding all up.
Did you allow the dog to come into your house?
Yes.
Yes.
That's the garage
But she
door.
agreed to pay the damages, though. That's the
Oh,
gar-
well, I'll get to that in a second. What is that?
That's the garage door where the dog just scratched the heck up out of the door.
Yes.
They're lying.
Miss McCracken?
I didn't put those scratches
That
there.
was never there. You're lying, John.
Miss McCracken, I want you to be quiet. Okay. You say there was an agreement with Miss McCracken to pay for the damage done by the dog. Is that
Correct.
right?
That's correct.
Who was that made with?
Me and Gail. Gail and I were the ones that made all agreements. That's why
All
John
right,
is
so
really the
tell me-
wrong person to be talking.
Just pay attention to me.
Okay.
now. So
Yes,
far,
ma'am.
he's not doing a bad job. I want to hear what arrangements you made with her with regard to paying for any damage the dog did to your home.
May I speak now, Your Honor?
Now I just asked you a question.
Thank
you can
you.
answer my question.
Okay. The arrangement that we made was when I took the dog, 2 dogs, both male, not neutered, she told me it would be for approximately 2 weeks. These dogs were there for 9 months. One, we had to not allow to stay because the 2 dogs would constantly fight. That's why the bedroom was damaged, because she said that when one has to, you have to keep one inside, one outside, because they would fight. So I'd have to take one, lock it in the bedroom, take it outside, so the other one could go to the bathroom. I cleaned up their blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, she had agreed. She said, any damages that these dogs do while on your property, I will pay for. And also, during the surgery that she said that the dog had, I cleaned its wounds.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Oh, my
That's
God.
why I'd take him back to the
Anyway,
vet twice.
So the
Ms.
agreement
McCracken,
was she would pay
I'm
for
going to
any
dismiss
damages.
your lawsuit in total. Do you understand that? I think that, you, quite frankly, you got some nerve to sue them. I
Your
really
Honor,
do.
you-
I'm speaking.
I would like to produce this, please.
Oh, she's dying to show me something.
Just show she wanted me to move in to help her finalize her divorce, okay? She's scared to death, and
I'm
this
divorced.
is her rap she laid on me to move into the house.
I don't, Madam.
Neither one of
Madam,
them were working at the time, Your Honor.
Listen to me. She took care of your dogs for 9 months.
Your Honor.
I'm speaking. She took care of your kid for 2 months after you moved out because he was afraid to live with you.
He was never there.
Oh, Miss McCracken, you've got a lot of nerve. Now, either you people are dumb to have allowed this to happen in your house.
It's embarrassing.
Or just,
Oh,
or
God.
I don't know what. Clearly,
Big heart.
clearly, there's something wrong with you.
No, I have a big
Clearly,
heart.
there's
No,
something
yeah,
wrong
you have
with
a
you.
big heart.
And I don't understand
Gail?
what it is. All right, so let's talk about it. I do believe that there was an agreement, because otherwise you would be crazy to keep these dogs, that whatever damage the dogs did, she would take care of.
She never
Because
had all those
that
dogs.
sounds logical to me.
Absolutely.
It doesn't sound reasonable to me that you would keep these dogs that were doing damage to your house, and one dog was returned to you. Is that right?
The one
Speak.
dog she'd only
Just-
had for a little time. And
It
he
was
tore up the
returned
carpet,
to
and
you.
I took him to the SPCA. 'cause I
It
couldn't do
was
anything with him.
returned to you.
I just want to say she
No, I
stated
don't
that
want
the
you to
dogs
say
were there
anything.
9 months. There was only one dog there.
I understand that.
Okay, the other dog was only there a little bit.
I
okay?
said that.
Oh, something wrong with you. Should have
I'm
stayed
mad.
away from her longer.
I'm very mad.
No, you can be very mad, but
And
you
he's
have absolutely
lying.
no
I don't
basis to be
appreciate
very
you talking
mad.
about my mother like that, all right?
I want to tell you something.
All right?
He's got him. You have a nerve filing a complaint against them for $5,000. I have no idea why you think that you are entitled to claim $5,000 in damages against these people. Absolutely none. You moved with your 4 children into their home, which, believe me, to have
Big
5
mistake.
people in the home, not paying a quarter, by the way, not a quarter, nothing, except your food stamps.
Oh, I stocked her whole refrigerator and had to leave and had nothing, no money, no nothing.
Kids have to
And
eat.
you took all the food with you when you left,
kept
Gail.
it, Cal.
All right, quiet. Okay, the only thing she's getting out of this lawsuit is getting her stuff.
Thank God. Thank
3
you,
days.
Your Honor.
And what you're getting on your counterclaim is the $120 that you got as an estimate to repair the carpet. Don't be foolish again. You do not invite strangers into your home. Do you understand?
Strange.
Yes, Your Honor.
Don't invite strangers into your home.
She also agreed to have our house sprayed for the roaches she brought in, too.
I thought, you
Listen
know
to
what?
me.
I
Listen
told
to
him
me.
in
You
the
may have had
beginning.
roaches in there, and I don't.
I've never before.
And,
Right.
and maybe not.
Absolutely
But
not.
the
I
agreement
told
she
him
made is
before
an
I would put
agreement,
everything in
though?
storage until and
Don't
get rid of it,
do
bomb
it.
it, and do it all. And
Never.
no, bring it in
Do you
here because they
understand?
needed my money
Never.
for their house.
Ever.
They were going to lose their
embarrassing that-
house.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Business owner Janet Mayfield is suing 44-year-old insurance company advisor Angela Dudley. Janet says Angela's 11-year-old son Jason assaulted her son, 8-year-old Deshaun.
Order. All rise.
Now, this is case number 189 on the calendar in the matter of Mayfield versus Dudley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Why don't the
Young
mothers
men
have a seat
seats.
for a moment, and let's have the 2 boys up here, please.
Sean, right here.
Right up here. Your name, young man, is Deshaun?
Yeah. Yes.
Much better. And you are Jason?
Yes.
And you boys had some problems, is that right? First you were friends for a while, but then you had some problems?
Yes.
Then there came a day in the schoolyard after school. Do you remember that day, Jason?
Yes.
A whole bunch of kids were standing around?
Yes.
And Deshaun, you were outside also.
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
I was teasing him.
How were you teasing him?
I was saying that he liked the girl.
What were you saying exactly?
I
Do you
said
remember?
you liked her, that's it.
Hmm?
I said you liked her, that's it.
And what did he say?
I don't know that.
Did you say anything to him when he started to tease you?
Yes.
What did you say?
I said no.
Did you like her?
No.
No. So you told him you didn't like her.
Yes.
And what did he say?
He said over and over again
What did he say over and over again?
that I liked her.
So you were really teasing him. Why were you teasing him, Deshaun?
I didn't say it over and over again. I was
Why
like
were you teasing him at all?
I was just playing with him.
Is that the only reason you were teasing him?
Yeah.
No. What happened?
After I said it a couple times, then I turned my head, and he came and slapped me, and my head hit a steel pole.
How did he slap you?
He went like this, and my face just hit a steel pole, because I was right by the pole.
So he didn't punch you or anything. He slapped you with his open hand, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And your head hit a pole, and what happened after your head hit the pole?
I had a slight concussion,
How do you know that?
because I felt dizzy after he slapped me.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember slapping him on the face?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Oh, no.
Because you were angry?
Yes. Yes.
You didn't punch him or anything.
Mm-mm.
You just
Yes.
slapped him on the face. Did you see his head hit the pole?
Yes.
Did you get frightened?
No.
Did you go and call for help for him?
No.
Did he walk away?
Then he hit me.
Hmm?
He hit me, then he walked away.
Where did he hit you?
My shoulder.
So after you hit him, he hit you in your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Did it hurt?
Oh, no.
No. Now I'll see the mothers. So now we have a relatively honest account of what happened that day. Deshaun over here acknowledges that for really no good reason he was teasing Jason. And he teased him more than once. And Jason acknowledges that he slapped him. Didn't punch him, didn't pummel him, he slapped him on the face. His head pretty much accidentally hit a pole. That wasn't the intention. And then Deshaun hit him in the shoulder. Miss Mayfield, you want Miss Dudley to pay your medical bills for your son, right?
Correct.
Now, When were you notified that your son was hurt?
Well, actually what happened around 2:15, I was approximately maybe 5 minutes late from getting him. I pulled up. I have a newborn baby that was in the car. And I sat there for about 20 minutes waiting for Deshaun to come out of school. School was over when this incident happened. And Deshaun didn't come, so I picked up my cell phone and I called into the school to find out where my son was. I was notified that he was in the nurse's office, that the nurse had come to get him and brought him into her office, and they would be coming out. Well, Deshaun and the nurse came out, and the nurse gave me a suggestion to take him to the doctor. He, had vomited, nausea, whatever. At that time, I went to take the baby back to my house, which is just around the corner, so my daughter could watch him, and I could take Deshaun to emergency to get him checked out. Well, I noticed her car on my way out, and she lives next door. So I went to talk to her. Basically, all I would have ever needed was an apology or I'm sorry. All I want is what the emergency visit was. She agreed for me to submit a bill to her. I did do that through certified mail. I got a couple of phone calls from Mrs. Dudley, and she was very rude, arrogant, no tact.
And your bill was $99. Can I see the bill?
That's it.
Can I see the bill, please?
Yes.
Okay.
She asked me about my insurance. I told her that I was going to get this done private pay.
Why?
Where they get the bill. Here's the bill, an actual bill.
Why didn't you submit the bill to your insurance company?
Well, I told her that I was going to submit the bill to her because she said that she would pay it.
Why didn't you submit the bill to your insurance company? That's what you pay insurance for, is my question.
I didn't do that. I just took him to emergency.
No, I'm asking you a question. I mean, but that seems to me if you have health insurance, that would have covered this $99 because it was an emergency visit. Why didn't you submit the bill to your insurance company?
I just took him. And I have a doctor's statement here.
All right, take a look at it. Okay, the first thing here is a lie. It said this is a 7-year-old child who was hit by an older kid with a fist. You never hit him with a fist, right? And he never hit you with a fist, is that right, Deshaun?
No.
No, he slapped you.
Your Honor, could we possibly ask the kids how hard did he hit him? I'm not quite sure, but for his head to hit a steel pole, I'd just like to know how hard.
How do you gauge that? Hard, very hard, medium soft? How do you gauge that? He certainly didn't punch him.
No, I'm not saying that he did.
He didn't punch him. There was nothing in this report that indicates that anything's wrong with him.
No, thank goodness he's okay.
Nothing. And I have a couple of questions for you. I'm not excusing him putting his hands on your son. Okay. You can't do that. What kind of punishment did you give to your son?
For teasing?
Yes.
Oh, me and his dad set him down, and we told him that that is not a proper thing to do.
Absolutely right.
No, most definitely.
Absolutely
I don't
right.
condone it at all.
Absolutely right. Put your hand down. You paying attention?
Yeah.
This whole thing wouldn't have started if you hadn't started to tease Jason, right?
Yes.
Why were you teasing him?
I was just playing with him.
No, he wasn't happy about it. You knew he wasn't happy about it, right?
No.
This is not the first incident that has ever happened with Jason or Sean having problems, okay? I stopped him from coming to the house. My husband and I, we never discussed with Sean why he could not come into the house any longer by being disruptive and doing things. We just kind of just let the kids play outside whenever they met outside. He had no idea that Jason and him were no longer friends per se. He was still...
But he knew he couldn't come into the house.
Yes, he was aware that I did not want him to come into the house.
That he knew.
Yes.
Kids are smarter than you think. If you say that Jason can't come into the house, they know that there's a reason. You can play with him outside, but he can't come into the house. Put your hands down! What do you think, you're at the beach?
No.
Judge-year-old Deshaun Jenkins says 11-year-old Jason Dudley smacked him in the head, causing a concussion. Jason says Deshaun was teasing him about a girl.
Have you had any other difficulty with Jason in school?
No.
No.
We've been neighbors for over 2.5 years, Your Honor. Okay, we never had any problems whatsoever. I didn't know that she had not allowed Jason to come over to the house because they were still playing. We live right across from the park, so they still play together out in the park. So I had no incidents or no knowledge whatsoever that she had forbidden. She never talked to me about it whatsoever. When she came to my house and asked me to pay for the emergency room bill, I told her no, I was not going to pay for it, okay? So what I did was I followed her to the emergency room to find out, make sure she got to the emergency room. I followed her there. I sat in that emergency room while she fed her son Dorito potato chips on the same side of the mouth where she claims Jason had injured. So to me, it wasn't that severe. If she felt that he had a concussion...
He didn't have a concussion.
Right. Okay.
He didn't have a concussion. He had nothing wrong. He hit his head. He hit his head, and this whole thing was blown way out of proportion. That's what I think. The whole thing was blown way out of proportion.
I totally agree.
What had to happen is that these two young boys... Now you can stand up next to your mother. These two young boys should be put together in one room with their parents in a coordinated effort, and in front of Jason, Sean has to be told, you don't tease other people, it's not nice.
True.
It makes them feel badly. And sometimes they don't react to it well. Sometimes they'll let it roll off their backs. You know what that means?
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll get very frustrated. And the only way that some people know how to react in a frustrated way is to use their hands, which you can't do. So that if he was teasing you, you have to turn around and say to him that stupid thing to say and walk away. But you don't use your hands, because using your hands, you look like a strong boy, so you can get in trouble. Right?
Right.
You had no out-of-pocket expenses, Miss Mayfield, because I find that you didn't do the right thing by not submitting this bill to your insurance company, which would have paid the entire bill. You wanted to prove a point.
It's just the principle.
It's not the principle of the thing. That, you know, this happens with children all the time.
It has happened before.
I don't know what's happened before. What I'm telling you is this incident is an incident that was precipitated by your son. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was just the principle for me, and I'm basically happy that the judge had to inform this child that it is not the right thing to do to put his hands on another no matter what.
Learn not to tease people.
Not to hit people in the jaw.
I think that kids will be kids, and I hope that they could play together eventually someday.
And now the next case.
All parties on Brunner versus Coley Jones. Step forward, please.
12-year-old Sherry Brunner and her mother, 48-year-old daycare provider Lori Brunner, says Sherry was discriminated against by Junior Football League commissioners Calvin Coley and John Jones.
Is your claim that your daughter, I assume this daughter, was the victim of gender discrimination by the defendants when she was cut from the football team?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what this is all about.
Yes.
Tell me your first name.
Sherry.
What happened to your leg?
I had surgery.
For what?
I had a birthmark that was supposed to be cancerous.
When did you have that surgery?
August 11th.
Okay. Sherry, when for the first time did you try out for the football team?
I think it was 98.
Is this a school football team?
No.
A league?
Yes.
And were the defendants the coaches at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, did you play at all the first year?
The first year, yes.
How many other women were on the team?
No one. I was
Just
the only
you?
one.
Do you like football?
Yes, I do.
And you got to play?
Yes.
When were there supposed to be the tryouts for the second year?
I think August.
Now, according to what I've read, Sherry, they have something that the defendants call Hell Week.
Right.
You know what that is?
Yes, I do.
Tell me what it is.
For a whole week that you do drills, push-ups, running, all that kind of stuff. It's like what you really don't want to do.
And everybody does that?
Yes.
But you didn't?
The first week, because I was at...
First week?
Right.
Tell me why you didn't go.
Because I was at New York visiting my grandma.
Did you discuss that with your coaches?
I discussed that with JJ, and he
Who's
said...
JJ?
I'm JJ.
Okay, you told JJ that you were not going to be there for Hell Week?
Right. And he said that that would be no problem.
How long did you spend with your grandmother?
For about 2 months.
So you were in New York the entire summer vacation?
Yes.
And when did you have to be back in school?
September 1st.
When was Hell Week?
Latter part of July.
You didn't return until when?
August 1st, the second week of practice.
Why didn't you come back a week early for your practice?
Well, what happens is my grandma already scheduled it for like a long time. She has frequent flyer mileage, and she schedules it for a long time. She schedules it from a long time before, so I knew when I was going to be back and everything.
Yeah, but you can change a frequent flyer ticket. You pay a little bit of a penalty.
It's difficult to change it.
No, you can't. You pay a penalty, like $50, and they let you change the date a week later, a week earlier. It's not a problem.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Nobody who made the team missed the entire week of Hell Week.
Nobody.
Right?
Right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 12-year-old Sherry Brunner says Football League commissioners Calvin Coley and John Jones discriminated against her by cutting her from the team.
So you didn't go to Hell Week, a week that everybody doesn't like, and you came back the following week.
Right.
And when you came back the following week, what happened?
I was supposed to be conditioned.
And what does that mean?
I have to have 10 hours of conditioning before I can put pads on, helmet, get my full gear.
Okay, and what happened?
Sometimes I ran for the whole practice. I did everything they asked me to.
And how many cuts were there?
I don't know.
How many
There were
cuts were
5.
there? Sherry was one of them.
Yes.
And I assume that since she was the only girl, the other 4 were boys.
Yes.
Were any of the other 4 boys that were cut boys that had been in the first year?
Yes.
How many?
One other veteran.
Now, were you told by Sherry sometime in April that she wasn't going to be able to be there for Hell Week?
She mentioned that to us, and we told her at that time that the prior year that she played in '98, we didn't have cuts because we didn't have that many kids. Our max allowance for kids is 35, and we were going over. Every year we were going higher and higher. And we explained then that that was a crucial time and she needed to be there because we had to anticipate more than 35 during that coming season.
You have your records with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Take a look. Tell me if any of the other 40 people missed the entire week of Hell Week.
We might need to ask the coach himself.
Okay, take a look. Tell me your name.
I'm Shani Guzman.
Tell me what you do for the team.
I was the assistant coach for running backs and quarterbacks. There's one kid here that missed 1 day, and another child that missed the first 2 days, but they made the team.
So the answer is nobody else missed the entire week. One missed 1 day, one missed 2 days, but nobody who made the team missed the entire week of Hell Week.
Nobody.
So prove to me discrimination when your coach is a woman, when nobody else made the team who had missed the entire week. Convince me that you were discriminated against.
I ran for about the whole practice, doing nothing but running, the whole field.
Yes?
Everybody was watching me.
Yes?
And that's about all I did.
She didn't get to join in most of the exercises. She did some, but that didn't happen to anybody else.
Is that correct?
None of the boys did that.
Your Honor, she had the condition. That's why she ran on that second week. She was behind the other players that had started a week ahead of her.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Well, that's what Sherry said. Sherry said that before you get into the pads and everything else, you have to do certain things, which she missed during the first week. Right?
Right.
What you want is special treatment for your daughter. Can't get that.
No.
They had every right in the world if she didn't show up, according, I assume to them. I'm speaking. They had every right in the world to say, you don't show up for Hell Week, you're not going to be even considered for the team.
There is no place in their rules that it says that. And it even
You knew
says,
about Hell Week, correct? Are you mean to tell me that the other 40 people who showed up did not just showed up because they wanted to? Well, maybe they had more of a desire. Just a second. Maybe they had more of a desire to play. Your daughter had a desire to spend time in New York with her grandmother. Stop making a baby out of your daughter. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will. Manager Marcelinda Aton claims 35-year-old Brownie troop leader Maureen Davis stole the cookie money. Maureen has a separate suit against Marcelinda's husband, 40-year-old steelworker Dan Aton, for harassment.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is cases number 279 and 280 on the calendar in the matter of Aton versus Davis.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
I have two cases here. One is really a cross complaint. Mrs. Aton, we're going to deal with your case first.
Yes.
You and the defendant are Brownie troop leaders.
Yes.
Which is part of the Girl Scouts. And how long have you known each other?
Approximately 2 years.
How long have you both been troop leaders?
A year.
Everybody knows about brownie cookies. Your daughter and her troop would sell cookies, and you would turn the money over to Miss Davis to put in the bank.
Her daughter was also in the trip, too.
Yes. Give her the money. She had the bank account. She'd put the money in the bank account, and then when it was all over, you would write a check to the Girl Scout Council for the cookies. And it is your claim that you gave her a substantial amount of money.
Yes.
After the sale. It was not all deposited in the account.
Right.
As a result of which the Girl Scout Council met and said they couldn't decipher where this money was, but since they delivered these dozens of boxes of cookies to both of you, you would each be responsible for half of the money.
Right.
You are suing Miss Davis for the half that you had to pay.
Yes.
Because you said, I gave her the money.
Yes.
How much money do you claim you gave her?
I gave her a total of $984.
Did you give her this money all at one time?
Yes, I did. My daughter was with me when I did that.
Over what period of time had you accumulated this $984?
3 days.
Who opened the bank account?
Maureen did.
In whose name?
Both of ours.
How many times had deposits been made in that account?
There was 1, 2, 3.
Who made the deposits?
Maureen made 2, I made 1.
So out of the 3 deposits, you made 2?
I remember making 1. If there's 2 down there, then I made 2.
Let me see what you have.
I was not able to get a hold of the bank records. They were subpoenaed.
Now, it is your claim, Miss Davis.
Here.
It is your claim, Miss Davis, that she did not give you $984.
Exactly.
How much did she give you?
She came to my house after what we call the last booth sale they were selling outside one of the supermarkets. And what she did is she had borrowed my daughter's wagon to haul the cookies around with. She came to my house after it was done, excited that they were all gone. She handed me a pencil box full of money and asked me to deposit this money.
I asked you for a deposit slip.
Wait a second. Wait. Let her tell a story, and then I'll come back to you. Okay?
She had no idea how much money was in this box. My husband and I sat down.
So she gave you a box?
She gave me her daughter's pencil box where they had used to put the money out for the sale that they were doing. This was a 1-day sale, not a 3-day sale. Then my husband and I sat and counted it, divided all the 1s by 20s, paper clipped them all, and that's what I deposited in the bank.
And do you know how much that was?
I believe it was $236.
Now, let's get to the box. Did you bring money in a box?
Yes.
Was the money in the box separated as to bill denomination?
I had put 20s, 10s, 5s, and 1s.
Are you sure?
Yes, because that was the only way to make easiest change.
How many people were involved in this sale?
Maureen was supposed to show up at the
sales. No, how many people were actually involved with you in this sale on that day?
On that day, we had 1 other parent.
Now explain to me exactly how this worked. You set up outside a supermarket on a table?
We didn't have a table. We just had the wagon. The people said what kind they wanted. They gave the girls the cash. The girls gave it to me. I counted what needed to go back, and I handed it to the girls, and they handed it to their customer.
When do you claim, I want you to listen to me very carefully, was the last time you counted the money that you turned over to the defendant?
It was probably about 2 hours prior to us leaving. I wasn't sure what time we were going to leave.
Leave where?
Leave Sam Clubs. We were there from 10 o'clock to like 4:30, 5 o'clock.
And you brought all the money with you for the 3 days?
All except for $207, which was in my wet bar. And I asked her for a deposit slip, and her reply was,
I can't find the bank stuff right now, so I'll get it to you when I can. And I said, all right. And then she said, with all that money laying around, I would spend it. I don't do that. That's not me.
Why didn't you make the deposit yourself?
I didn't have any of the bank stuff. It all was mailed to her house. She had all the bank access, not me.
Well, you did make one deposit yourself.
After she gave me a deposit slip.
Okay, but you can go into a bank.
They wouldn't receive the money without original deposit slip for the bank.
Oh, no. That's ridiculous. Well, Miss Aton, that's ridiculous. If you go in with your account number, listen to me, if you go into a bank with your account number.
I didn't have the account number.
We didn't have anything.
I didn't have anything.
Shh. But you could have. I mean, it wasn't a secret. You said, give me the account number, then and you can do it. Then you don't even have to keep money in your wet bar, a couple $100 in your wet bar.
But mine got deposited.
Well, she deposited money. She says that you gave her $236 in cash.
I gave her more than that.
I understand that you say you gave her that. But she did, in fact, deposit $236 in cash.
It's
no?
not in here.
Did you deposit it?
Yes, I did. I deposited what I had.
You said it was $236.
I believe it was around $236.
It's not registered on there that I could see.
What date?
I'm not sure the date. It was one of the dates her husband at school one day came up to me and asked me if I had deposited the money. I told him that I had. I was actually on my way to the bank to do that.
You lied about it.
Listen, Mr. Aton, don't shout out that you don't want me to think you're a hothead, do you?
Well, I can be. Everybody can be sometimes. But I'll restrain myself.
Well, I would like to have some proof, Miss Davis, that you did in fact deposit the $236.
I haven't seen any of the deposits that had been done. I tried to.
No, this was a deposit that you made.
Right.
You went to the bank, you deposited $236. You got a receipt. Where's the receipt?
I do not have the receipt, Your Honor.
What'd you do with it?
I gave it to Mrs. Aton.
No, you did not.
Just a second. Hey.
I handed her all the paperwork with all the receipts.
Judge Judy continued. Fellow Brownie troop leader Maureen Davis stole the proceeds from the troop's cookie sale. Maureen denies the charge and says the Atons are harassing her.
You have a problem. At least with $236, you have a problem. You have a problem with $236 because you knew you were coming to court today, not only on her complaint, but on a cross complaint that you had. You've had months to resolve this issue, and you could have easily said to the bank, I want a copy of the receipt for my $236.
I had asked for a copy of the stuff, but apparently they were subpoenaed and the bank went through their lawyers, and I was told that I could not be issued those.
Oh, that's baloney. It is going to be, Ms. Aton, absolutely impossible to ascertain whether the money was taken out of your cash box.
Does that also give her the right to forge my name on the bank documents and on here?
On where?
On the bank authority for the council, too. And she even misspelled my name.
Your Honor, can I say something?
This is not an issue at hand, and if she wants to proceed
that is the reasoning that the council decided to only have me pay half.
Tell her what we saw at the bank.
That's not correct.
And at the bank, they would not give me any more of the statements and stuff because they realized that my name was forged also on the bank stuff.
You mean as an owner of the account?
Yeah.
And I can explain that, Your Honor.
Let me hear you.
I had gone into the bank and opened up our checking account for the Girl Scouts because they needed it to be open. I opened it with my own money. At that time, the signature card sat in the bank for at least 3 weeks. Mrs. Aton would not or did not go in to sign the signature card.
Why didn't you bring one out and give it? Shut up! Why didn't you pick up the signature card and give it to her and say, sign this off and I'll bring it back to the bank?
Because we very rarely saw each other in the morning.
Whether morning, afternoon, a bank card could be signed morning, afternoon, evening.
She knows where I
You
live.
can't sign somebody else's name to an account.
But she had told me to do, Your Honor, and it came from her. I didn't even know her name was Marcelinda. I've always known her as Marcy.
Yeah.
She asked.
Go ahead.
She asked me to sign her name to that so that the bank account could get opened. I did that. Now, I realize after
Where did you do that? In the bank?
In the bank.
Are you telling me you sat before a bank officer and they allowed you to sign somebody else's name?
I did.
Well, you did. And this is the same bank that wouldn't give you a copy of your deposit slip of $236 that would allow you to sit there and forge somebody's signature in a bank document?
No.
Come on, Miss Davis. Well, it doesn't sound very kosher to me. In any event, I have $236 that is unaccounted for. can't account for the rest. I'm not prepared to find that she's a thief. Forged your name. She says it was with the bank's consent. That's very stupid.
Yes, I realized that after the fact that it probably wasn't something that should have been done.
Absolutely.
But we were friends, and I didn't think anything of it when she asked me to do this.
Yeah, you don't do that. I mean, I don't open an account by forging the name of my children. I don't care whether you're your friend or not. You just don't open an account that way.
Right. She was aware of this, Your Honor.
I don't care whether they're aware of it, madam. You're not even dealing with your money. You have a fiduciary relationship towards this money. It is not yours. It belongs to the Girl Scout Council of America. And you don't do anything in that fiduciary capacity that is illegal. It is illegal to open an account with a forged name. You got it? I don't care, friends, not friends. This is a business. All right. Switch places.
Yep.
Your cross complaint is for harassment.
Yes, ma'am.
You're claiming that the defendant, Mr. Aton, who has an acknowledged hot temper and who's going to uncross his arms as we speak, has harassed you in front of your child. Tell me about it.
It started the end of school year last year when this money went missing. The first episode he did was in front of my daughter and in front of a bunch of parents, and I was furious at the point that he would do this in front of everybody. I left school and I went to Mrs.
What did he do?
He sat there and yelled and called me a thief, a liar, every four-letter word you can think of.
Where was this?
At the school where we pick up our daughters.
Where at the school?
Right in front of where their classroom is where
Inside the school?
Inside the school grounds.
Well, tell me exactly what he said to you.
He came up to me and he called me a thief, called me a liar, told me he was going to get me, that I stole this money, and my daughter and I proceeded to walk away, where he just proceeded to follow us and kept calling us names.
I believe he did that.
And I went to his wife's work.
I didn't have to ask him. I believe he did it. He can't contain himself here.
I went to his wife's work where I sat my daughter down in a little play area they have there and asked to speak with her. We went in the back. I told his wife what had happened, and she was appalled. She started crying. She apologized. She came out to my daughter and apologized. And she told my daughter, she would talk to him, that he wasn't being very nice. And
I believe that too. Right?
I did say that. Just
a
to
second.
keep her working with me.
Stand up here, please. Ms. Aton, let's be very honest with each other. So far,
yes,
we're getting somewhere. She did come to your place of work and say that
yelling across my platform with a bunch of customers in it.
Absolutely not.
And she said Bill was ready to kick Dan's. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, honey.
You want to go outside for a minute?
I don't think you're following me, Ms. Aton. My point is, immediately after she saw your husband at the school, she came to your place of employment very upset, right?
Right.
And you did have a discussion.
Yes.
All that leads me to believe that this actually occurred at the school. All right?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, it goes much deeper than that, much deeper. Insults, slandering my child.
He even went up to my daughter, my 7-year-old daughter, and told her that her mommy was no good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brownie troop leader Maureen Davis is suing her co-leader's husband, Dan Aton, for harassment.
What else?
Mr. Aton came up to me with his fist clenched and started proceeding to yell and scream at me in front of another parent. The parent.
What did he say?
He proceeded then to call me a lion and proceeded to tell me that I was a thief and I was no good. And I asked him, I was talking to another parent, I politely asked him to leave me alone, and he would not. The other parent then walked away. I asked him again to leave me alone. At that time, my daughter, we were right in front of my daughter's classroom where the door was open, and he would not leave. When my daughter came out, I took my daughter, I proceeded to walk away to the crosswalk. He proceeded to follow me and said, "You'll get yours," and he walked away. This happened every day when I went to school. He had something nasty to say every single day, until the fact that he even went up to my daughter, my 7-year-old daughter, and told her that her mommy was no good. I went to the police department 3 times. The first day of school I went, right after this happened, because my daughter was terrified.
Okay. According to what I read here, there is some indication that you did get a restraining order against
Yes, I did.
When was that?
On October 13th.
Do you have a copy of that restraining order?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please? There has not been a hearing yet on this.
It's on the 27th.
Well,
they made me get an emergency at the police
Listen
department.
to me. Shh. Do you have an attorney?
No.
Well, you will, I'm sure, get one. I am not going to take your testimony here today with regard to these allegations of harassment, sir. Do you understand? Because there is currently an action pending, and according to this, you are in the interim not to go near the plaintiff, her husband, her child, and stay 100 yards away from all of those people, their place of work, their place of residence, et cetera, et cetera. Now, that was done on an ex-parte basis, so the court had absolutely no information from your side as to whether any of these allegations were true.
I haven't been able to say anything about it. She's been able
Did you understand?
Yes.
You will have your chance after you speak to an attorney. You got it?
Yes.
I have to dismiss the harassment complaint. You can refile it after the action is concluded in the Superior Court, but I'm not going to put him in the position of having to testify without benefit of counsel here when he has the current action pending. I suggest you get a lawyer, Mr. Aton. You're going to need one, because if you have a hot temper, and there is no question in my mind that with what I've seen today, that there may be some validity to her complaints, that if she gets a restraining order against you and you violate it, you could go to jail.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She acknowledges that you gave her $236. Okay. She cannot present to me any proof from her bank, the bank that permitted her to forge your signature on a signature card, according to her, yet would not give her a copy of the receipts. So I'm perfectly comfortable on your complaint awarding you $236.
People can be provoked, Your Honor.
I didn't provoke you here,
No,
sir.
I'm not
Nothing
saying...
here provoked you.
No.
Nothing here provoked you. But I could tell that you are easily provoked. You're easily provoked because you think that this is a major deal. We're talking about money. We're not talking about your health.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, it goes much deeper than that, much deeper. Insults, slandering my child. I'm very protective of my family. I almost lost all three of them. Almost lost her to cancer. Almost lost my youngest.
So if you are smart and you know that this is money, and you have your wife, and she has her health, right? Money. Not important. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Rose Campbell is suing her boyfriend's daughter, 19-year-old student Leslie Fisher, and her husband, Michael Fisher. Rose says Leslie trashed her home while she was on vacation. The Fishers are countersuing for harassment and defamation of character.
Order. Come to order. All rise. Now, this is case number 267 on the calendar in the matter of Campbell versus Fisher. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Miss Campbell, you live with the defendant, Mrs. Fisher's father.
Correct.
And you've been together for how long?
Approximately 6 years.
And sometime the early part of this year, you and your boyfriend were going on vacation or holiday, and she was going to stay home and take care of not only the home, but a whole bunch of animals that you have.
Correct.
You were gone for several weeks.
Correct.
She did not do what she was supposed to do. She left the house unattended, left the animals unattended, as a result of which the house was pretty much destroyed. That's what you're suing for.
Correct.
You were subsequently married.
Yes.
This is your husband?
Yes.
You have a cross-complaint, and your cross-complaint is for some sort of harassment. Okay. When did Mrs. Fisher move in with you?
Approximately 3 years ago.
Is that right?
Yes.
And how old were you when you moved in?
I was about 16.
Where had you lived before?
In Arkansas with my grandfather.
So you moved back and lived with your dad and his girlfriend?
Yes.
And how long did you plan on being away?
4 weeks. Items I sell, and I'm a vendor at craft fairs and craft shows.
Did you have an arrangement with her with regard to caring for the animals when you were away?
Yes, I did.
What did you say to her and what did she say to you?
The conversation was between her and her boyfriend, Michael Fisher, at the time. They agreed to take care of the animals. He agreed to take her to and from work and to and from school because she was still in high school. They assured me that everything would be fine as it had been before.
And you had no concerns?
No.
When did you have an inkling that something wasn't right?
We couldn't reach them for several weeks. I mean, several weeks. Come 5 weeks later, she called us when we were on location at a market and informed us that she had moved out sometime right after we had left to go out of town.
Had you had any indication that she was moving out?
No, Your Honor.
What kind of animals do you have?
I raise hybrid wolves. I have 2 hybrid wolves at this time, 2 cats, and a parrot.
So 5 animals altogether?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
When did you know that something was wrong with the animals? Did she tell you she was taking care of the animals?
She was pretty evasive to me, and I was very, very, very upset. We then called, myself and her father called John McNeely, who is a close friend of us, our family, to go and check on the animals and on my home. He then went over immediately and informed us that we needed to get home immediately, that the animals were not in good shape at all, and the house was totally trashed.
Did you come right home?
It took us 2 days. We were in the midst of having engine problems with our motorhome. Our motorhome is still in Georgia at this time because we had to drop everything, buy another vehicle, and come straight home. We were home within a day and a half.
What did you find when you got home?
My house was totally trashed, birdseed everywhere. Cat urine and feces had not been picked up or cleaned up all through the home. The backyard was totally trashed from where the animals had tried to get in the home because my dogs have never been outside all night, never. And they had been left outside for long, long periods of time. The inside of the house was, I mean, my furniture was broken. There was a multitude of things missing. My walls were dented and scratched. I couldn't, it was totally unbelievable.
Did you take any photographs?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Can I see them?
Sure. I have at the very end what the house looks like now, and also what the house, what the dogs look like now. And I understand that they're not very good pictures. I'm an amateur at that. It was just something I thought I needed to do.
When you came home, was the house locked up?
Yes, it was.
What items did you find missing?
The dressers, there was 3 dressers that were in Leslie's room. They were missing. They were returned, and that was the condition they were returned in the photos. There was $250.
Who returned them?
They did, on police order.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Why did you take the dressers?
They were mine.
But the police told you to return them?
Yes.
What else was missing?
$250 cash out of my safe deposit box, along with her Social Security card, her prescription for her contacts and glasses, her title to her car.
That was all in your safe deposit box?
Yes, Your Honor. Jewelry, clothing, bedding, food.
All right, let's talk about the safety deposit box. You went into the safety deposit box to get
I
all
went
your
and
stuff
got my stuff when they asked me to get the papers for their motorhome. That's the only time I went in with it, into it. Title to my car was in a manila envelope, sort of like this, that was in my room. It was never in their box.
Social Security card?
It was, yes.
Where was that?
It was in their box.
Did you take it?
Yes. Mike was there, and so was John.
Who's Mike?
My husband.
Who's John?
My witness.
Step up, please. John, what's your last name?
McNeely.
Tell me about the circumstances surrounding you going into the safety deposit.
Rose and Leon had called me when their motorhome broke down and asked me to go over and help Leslie and Michael try to find the warranty papers for the engine.
You actually went into the safety deposit box with them?
No, I was looking through the papers that Leslie had already pulled out, had them on the counter, seeing what she had, making sure that they were the right papers, and going through, getting phone numbers and stuff to call Rose and Leon with to give them for the warranty for the motor.
Were you still living in the house at the time that you went through the safety deposit box?
Yes, I was.
When did you leave?
I completely moved out the day, what was it, the day before they came home? Because we
But
had
you weren't
3
staying
cats.
in the house.
We had 3 cats, and when I finally completely moved all my stuff out, I took my cat and bought stuff.
We're not going to play games with each other. I'm not talking about completely moving out. When did you cease living there on a full-time basis?
What day was that?
Don't ask him. How much after they left did you start living with your now husband?
I think it was probably a week.
And you had some stuff that you left there, so you would go back periodically.
No, I would take care of the animals too.
Periodically?
No, every day.
Okay. Well, the devastation that I saw, for instance, around the parrot's cage, let's talk about that, and the kitty litter boxes, that's more than a day's worth of cleanup.
What do you... To clean the litter boxes, you did that once a week. She told me you have to do it once a week. Clean 2 litter boxes. It was in my room.
He wasn't living there in the house with
No,
you?
Your Honor.
Okay, so
no.
your arrangement
He was not
with
allowed
him.
to be in the home, and only at certain times, because I was trying to keep Leslie from doing something that she might be sorry for. He's 30 years old, Your Honor.
He's 29.
She was 18 at the time, Your Honor. I feel that this is just a stab in my back. I brought a child up, tried to give her a good home. I did everything for you,
Listen. We don't do that here.
Judge Judy continues. Rose Campbell says Leslie Fisher was left to watch her home while she was on vacation. Rose says Leslie abandoned her home and her animals. Leslie and her husband are countersuing for harassment and defamation of character.
Miss Fisher, can you tell me why you chose to wait until after they left?
Because I know they'd
to move out. Why?
Because I know they'd do this to me. They wouldn't let me move out because I tried to move out more than once.
So it was your plan to move out. Is that right?
Yes, and they knew it.
No, don't tell me that they knew it. They wouldn't have known that you were going to move out.
They didn't know the exact.
And leave all their animals unattended. So this was your plan. And this was your plan with your husband?
Yes.
And when did you formulate this plan?
Well, we talked about it for a few weeks.
Before they left?
Yeah.
So you weren't honest with Miss Campbell or your father when you said that you would be living in the house all the time and taking care of the animals.
They didn't ask me to live in the house. It was just sort of like telling me to do everything.
But you had been living in the house full time and taking care of the pets when they went on this trip.
Because I had to. They didn't ask me. We didn't, write down papers saying that they would pay me or we had an agreement or anything.
Miss Fisher, let me ask you this question. You moved in when you were 16.
Yes.
Were you working?
Not when I was 16, no.
Were you working when you were 17?
Yes.
Full-time or part-time?
Part-time, because I had to go to school full-time.
You lived in the house. They paid all the expenses, right? And you had certain chores to do.
Yes.
Does that sound unreasonable to you?
Not then.
Well, then you turned 18. When did you meet him?
I knew him when I first moved up to Ohio.
When you were 16?
Yes.
And how old was he?
He was 26.
Okay. Mr. Fisher, what kind of work do you do, sir?
Body man, fix cars.
Is that your own business?
No.
You work for somebody else?
Yes, I do.
You're working on the books, of course.
I should be.
But you're not.
He better be paying me on the books.
Well, you would know, Mr. Fisher, whether you're being paid on the books. Either you get a check that says this is how much they take out for taxes and Social Security, or they don't take out for taxes and Social Security. So you paid on the books or off the books?
The boss told me he was going to be paying me on the books. He should be paying me on the books. If he is or isn't, I don't know. I do not want to take a check from the man because the checks will bounce.
So you paid in cash?
I tell him to give me $400 cash and take care of the taxes for it.
Miss Fisher, there's some indication in these papers that you were charged with animal cruelty or animal abandonment. Is that right?
Yes. I've got a misdemeanor for it, yes.
So you were convicted?
Well, it was the easiest way to get out of the court case, yeah.
So you were convicted?
Yes.
And you pled guilty?
No contest. Same as guilty, yes.
So that there really is no issue as to whether you abandoned these animals, because the burden of proof here is much less than in a criminal proceeding. The only issue is one of damages. Now, what were the damages to your animal?
Well over $4,000, Your Honor, but I'm not claiming that because I feel that some of it was done previous to her doing what she did to me. I'm claiming $1,800 to repair the couch, to change the door locks, because they did get keys made for my doors, and my doors, cleaning the walls, repairing the walls, the carpeting, the vet bill.
How much was the vet bill?
The vet bill was over $380.
All right, tell me about your counterclaim.
They harassed us. She harassed us on the phone.
Well, tell me about it.
Well, we've got the tape right here if you'd like to listen to it.
Leslie, this is Rosie. I just wanted you to know that if I don't have you face to face and you're not woman enough to come and talk to me about what has gone on, not only am I going to prosecute you, but I'm also going and headed to the school with 2 documents. One to Mr. to inform him that you aren't living in the Menor school district anymore, and you'll have to go to night school to finish. And I think Mikey is going to have some problems also. The only way that we can remedy this, Leslie, one is I don't want you to come back. You are not welcome in my house after you come here once. Just to tell me where my stuff is, why you left it, why you did what you did to these animals. That's all I have to say to you. Not only have you broken my heart, you also have broken all of my trust. Obviously, you have no one now. You have not me, not my family. My daughter's on her way over here to calm me down. You don't have anybody in your family. You have your sister, whom you are just like. Only thing is, she was with him a little longer than 3 months. Also, you have nobody. You have nobody now. Well, kid, you got a long and hard road to work. I hope you make it.
Have anything else you want me to listen to?
We have a videotape of our wedding right after. There were still people there from the ceremony, and my dad, and we know John was there, but we're not sure if Rosie was in the van. They came and harassed us.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's into the vending business, basically I consider a carny, and she...
I beg your pardon.
It's my own personal opinion, so please.
Listen, your judgment's so lousy so far, I'm not interested in your opinion.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rose Campbell says Leslie Fisher owes her for a trashed home and neglecting her animals.
The tape is not harassment, madam.
She almost got me kicked out of school.
Let me tell you what she's saying to you. She's saying you lived in her home, she trusted you, and you violated their trust. It's clear to me that you violated their trust because you snuck around, waited until, with a plot, waited until they left. And then as soon as they left, you moved out. And you may have come back every few days to take care of the animals, to feed them, give them water, do whatever, but that's not what was anticipated. What was anticipated is that you would be living there. There's a difference between living there and going to feed the cat every couple of days. Miss Fisher, you and I know that. And I'm telling you something. That's not harassment on that tape. What that is hurt. Because what she really said was, I'm going to do all these things to you, none of which are illegal. But all I want you to do is come here and explain to me why you did this to me, why you did it the way you did it. Let me ask you this question, sir.
Huh.
You're older.
Yes.
You're supposed to be more responsible.
Yes.
Why did you encourage Miss Fisher to leave the house without letting them know?
I did not.
You didn't?
No, I told her straight out, point blank,
yes,
it's her choice. If she wants to move out, I ain't going to stop her. I ain't going to talk her into it. I ain't going to talk her out of it. It's her choice.
Just a second. Rose and Leon were going to be away for 2 months.
We were there every single day. We have a picture of her mailbox if you would like to take a look-see at it. She's got a small mailbox. She's into the vending business. Basically, I consider a carny. And she...
I beg your pardon.
Miss Campbell, Miss Campbell.
I personally believe...
Miss Campbell, look at me. Please don't talk to him. Don't talk to him.
I'm a nurse, in-home nurse.
It's my own personal opinion, so please...
Well, I'm not interested. You listen, your judgment's so lousy so far, I'm not interested in your opinion. Say no more. Just tell me what happened at the wedding, please, so I can
Leon
finish.
and John showed up for sure.
I'm not interested in anybody else other than Miss Campbell.
Well, they showed up in Rose Campbell's van. I have no idea if Rose was actually in the van or not. It's hard to tell. Van has tinted windows.
So?
I have no idea if she was...
Oh, I have no idea either.
I figured birds of a feather flock together. I figured Leon was probably in the van with Rosie, and Rosie and John, all three of them.
Just a second, Miss Campbell, please, I told you, I don't want to say it again. I don't want you to speak to him. Miss Fisher, have you spoken to your father since all of this happened?
No.
And of course you haven't spoken to Miss Campbell.
That's right.
Are you a little sorry it happened?
If I knew all this was going to happen, I would have stayed.
Stayed where?
Arkansas.
Well, if you stayed in Arkansas, you wouldn't have met your husband.
That's better than all the hell they put me through.
Wouldn't have met Mike if you stayed in Arkansas. You may have good reason to cry.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Let's take care of the counterclaim first. The counterclaim is nonsense. And there is absolutely no evidence that she was involved in any harassment at your wedding, other than the fact that your husband thinks that birds of a feather flock together. Maybe he's right. There is no question that since Mrs. Fisher has been found guilty of abuse of animals, there's no question that she did it. There is also no question that you cannot prove that they actually stole money out of your safety deposit box. But I really believe that since you filed your lawsuit against both,
Yes, Your Honor.
and you indicated to me that both of them were there when you had this conversation.
Correct,
Is that
Your
right?
Honor.
Yes. He had a certain responsibility. He accepted that responsibility. He was also part of the plan, and he was the older member that was part of the plan, that they were certainly not going to fulfill this agreement, at least the way you anticipated it would be fulfilled. In any event, I am awarding you $1,000 judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you.
Parties are excused.
Clean up the mess.
Step up.
38-year-old deputy officer John Fisher is suing his fiance's ex-boyfriend, 30-year-old truck driver Jorge Gatches, for filing false charges and defamation of character.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 261 on the calendar in the matter of Fisher versus Coaches. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You're welcome. You may be seated.
Mr. Fisher, the defendant used to live with your current fiancée.
Yes, Your Honor.
You've been living with, her first name is Melissa,
Yes, Your Honor.
for 3 years.
Approximately 3 years, yes, Your
And how old is the child?
5 years old.
You claim that the defendant maliciously and willfully did several things. He first filed charges against you with internal affairs. You are a police officer.
Yes, Your Honor.
In addition to that, he filed for a restraining order against you, causing you to have to hire counsel.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in addition, he filed charges with Child Protective Services alleging that you had either abused and or neglected his daughter.
Yes, Your Honor.
All of those charges, according to you, were dismissed.
They were, Your Honor.
And you want to be compensated for all your aggravation.
Yes, Your Honor.
And your defense, Mr. Gatches, is that you had a right to file these charges.
That is correct.
Okay. When was the incident that precipitated the filing of these charges?
Well, Your Honor, for the last 3 years, this man has harassed myself and my fiancée, Melissa. He couldn't get through the courts to get Melissa, so he elected to in turn attack me, Your Honor.
Were there custody proceedings involving the child?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that right, sir?
That's correct. The judge ordered for us to have the same visitations and the same rights, which is half and half, 50-50. And I got proofs of that.
Let me see what you have. Did you ever sign this stipulation for custody, sir?
Yes, I did.
Because it's not signed here.
Your Honor, it hasn't.
Shh. Melissa signed it. Why haven't you signed it?
I requested these copies from the lawyer, and he still has them.
No. You have this thing here,
Okay.
Mr. Gatches. This is a letter that was sent to you. It's a stipulation regarding the custody and visitation order that was agreed to after you all went to mediation.
That's right.
And Melissa signed it. It was awaiting, signed it back in December of 1999.
Correct.
It was awaiting your signature so it could be so ordered by the judge. Why did you never sign it?
The reason why, because I remember now that there were some things that they were still not settled, like the taking our kid to counseling. That was one.
Well, what did you do to follow up on it, sir?
I haven't had money. I have been on disability, and I haven't had money to go to court, Your Honor.
I mean, you go through a whole process. A psychologist, mediator spends hours, if not days, discussing the recommendations with you. They come up with a plan that you both agreed to, and it's clearly laid out here. And then in order to resolve the whole matter, forwarded to you is the stipulation for you to sign so this matter can be resolved. Now it's a year, and you haven't done it. That's outrageous.
Okay.
Outrageous. Okay. Let's start out with the Child Protective Services, please. Did you, in fact, sir, file charges against him with Child Protective Services?
Not against Mr. Fisher. What I called because I wanted him to investigate. I wanted to put a complaint.
So what was the complaint that you put
The
in?
complaint was about the incident that happened that night, which was Mr. John Fisher, yelling at my daughter, using bad language.
What did he say? Well, your daughter must have told you this, right?
No, that happened
were
the same
there.
night when I was dropping my daughter off, when the incident happened.
Oh, well, tell me about the incident, sir, that caused you to call in a report to Child Protective Services.
It was more verbal abuse.
Tell me about it. What did you tell them? How did you tell them that he abused your daughter?
By him yelling at me in front of her, using bad language, ordering my daughter to get out of my truck, and scaring my daughter, using bad language.
Tell me what he did.
Well, what he did was that the night of the 23rd, he arrived in his truck. He parked in the driveway, and
Of whose house?
his house.
So he came to his house and he parked his truck in his driveway.
Correct. He got out of his truck, came over to me.
What were you doing there?
I was waiting for her mother to arrive from work.
So you were waiting
Yes.
to return her from your custody arrangement?
Correct, yes. And he approached me. He came over where I was parked at. My daughter was right there with me inside the truck. And he started using profanity. Like,
What did he say?
he said, what's wrong with me? Okay, and I go, okay. And he ordered my daughter to get out of the truck and to go inside the house. My daughter refused. He told him, he told my daughter twice to get out of the truck. My daughter was scared and she jumped into my arms. And that's what happened.
Don't talk to each other, please. Just look at me.
And he ordered my daughter twice to get out of the truck, okay? And he asked me why the heck I was telling my daughter not to go with them. So I ain't gonna leave my daughter with someone like you in this type of mood that he was in, because he did stink. He did stink.
Just a second. Look at me, not him. What happened next?
He said, he told me to get out of the truck, talk man to man, okay? So what I did, I got out of the truck because I was afraid, I was afraid of my...
So you got out of the truck and what happened?
I got out of the truck and started, using more bad language, okay? He said, telling me that he's a big American guy, that he has a big job, that how come I do not help her mother with money. And he was not making sense that night.
That makes perfect sense to me, sir. You look like a very healthy man to me. Why aren't you working? It says you don't work here. Just a second. Answer my question.
Sure.
You look very strong and very healthy. It says here, in one part of this report that I just read, that it would be very nice for your daughter to spend the time with you because you don't work. Why don't you work?
Because I'm on disability.
What kind of disability are you
I
on?
got bad knees and I got bad back.
You got bad knees and you got a bad back.
Correct.
You drive a truck?
I'm a delivery driver, correct, Your Honor.
You were a delivery driver. You were driving a truck at the time you drove your daughter home, right?
That's right.
Yeah. When was the last time you sent child support for your daughter or supported her?
There had not been any court orders about child support, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Your Honor, I'd like to add...
I'll get to you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues that Deputy Officer John Fisher says his fiance's ex-boyfriend, Jorge Gatches, falsely accused him of child abuse and making threats.
Now, when did you call Child Protective Services?
The same night after I left the scene.
What did you tell them?
I told him I just wanted to get more information, and I wanted to let him know what happened that night, that my daughter was crying, and she was scared. My daughter was refusing to stay alone with them, which she had done it many times before, Your Honor.
Now, when did you file a restraining order against him?
A couple days later.
Why?
Because the same night when I was dropping off my daughter, he threatened me with, because he said that he knows the law, he works with the law, and he knows the law much better.
Yes?
That he knows the law much better than me, okay? And
I think you know a little bit about the civil law, at least very well, at least about workman's compensation and disability. You know a little bit about that. You have a lawyer, right? You have a lawyer, right?
Yes, I do.
You hurt yourself. Let me see if I can put this together. I bet you hurt yourself while you were on your job, right?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
You think I'm just a good guesser? They don't keep me around here because I'm gorgeous, you know. You hurt yourself on your job. You have a lawsuit pending against your employer?
That's correct, Your Honor.
How long have you had a lawsuit pending against your former employer?
It has been about 2.5 years.
And you go to see a doctor regularly?
Yes.
You go to a chiropractor, perhaps?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Yes, of course. Could almost write the script, right?
You're good.
Would you prefer to sit down, Mr. Gatchez? Is your back bothering you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I know you're fine. So he threatened you that he knows the law better than you. I'm not so sure about that, Mr. Fisher. I think he's got the system pretty well played out.
I think so too, Your Honor.
Right. Okay, now let's get to internal affairs. Did you file a complaint against Mr. Fisher with internal affairs?
Not that I can recall that one.
Okay. Do you have any documentation that
Your
Mr.
Honor,
Gotch... Let me finish the question, Mr. Fisher.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any documentation that Mr. Gotch has filed an independent complaint with regard to the incident of the 23rd of August with the police department?
Yes, Your
Internal
Honor.
Affairs. Can I see it,
A
please?
letter from Internal Affairs.
Bottom line is that they, in effect, decided not to pursue any of these complaints because, according to this letter that was sent to you, sir, while you may find Deputy Fisher's conduct objectionable, your complaint does not describe any unlawful conduct. So clearly, you did send a letter of complaint to the Sheriff's Internal Affairs Division, right?
Yes, I did.
Well, that's what I asked you before. I don't understand why this verbal confrontation took place at the beginning, sir. Mr. Gatchez, if you got to the house and Melissa wasn't home, instead of sitting outside and waiting for her, why didn't you just either go to your house, take Melissa out for soda, come back when she was there? Why did you sit there and wait for her?
That night, my daughter, it was the second time that she didn't want to stay alone with them. Plus, you know, he's sick.
Wait, stay alone with whom?
Excuse me?
Stay alone with whom?
With Mr. Fisher. She refuses to stay alone with him.
Well, that's not true, sir. I
Your
guarantee
Honor.
you, sir, they've been living together for almost 3 years, and I guarantee you there are times when your daughter stays home with Mr. Fisher. Without Melissa. Nowhere in this psychiatric and psychological report and the mediation report does it suggest that Mr. Fisher is an inappropriate custodian. It doesn't say that.
Okay.
You live with a child who's 5 years old. Sometimes you're going to raise your voice, right?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Fisher has never used any corporal punishment with regard to your child, right?
That's not what my daughter told me one time.
Oh, well, tell me what your daughter told you
That
one
she got
time.
pushed in the bathtub by him, but he came out with a different story, so I left it to that. And also her mother called me saying that it was just an accident that it happened in the bathtub.
Well, does that sometimes happen, Mr. Gatchez? An
She may
accident in the
probably
bathtub?
happen.
Shh. Does that sometimes happen, sir?
Yes.
Let me take you back to when your daughter, and you were living with her at the time, was about 1.5 years old. She started to walk. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Do you remember her falling?
Yes.
You remember her falling next to a table?
Yes.
Did she get hurt?
Yeah, many times.
Many times,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
What, do you think I was there? You think I had a camera in your living room?
No.
It happens. You think somebody should notify Child Protective Services because you weren't watching her carefully enough?
You're right.
Of course.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He claims poverty, but he runs up attorney bills to thousands of dollars. Where does he get this money? And then he gets in court and he can't even keep his lies straight, Your Honor.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Fisher says Jorge Gatches filed false charges against him, causing him to hire a lawyer.
Listen, you may not like him because he's not working, and you know he's full of baloney.
He's a liar. He's so bored with his life, he drives around the block getting dizzy watching our house. He's a thorn in our side, and he's waiting for us to get married so that he can take us to court and use my income so he can sponge off the system some more for child support.
Listen to me, Mr. Fisher.
It's the way he is, Your Honor.
Mr. Fisher, you're angry.
I'm not angry, Your Honor.
No, Mr. Fisher, you're angry. And you may have a right to be angry.
Your Honor.
What?
That night did happen. Well, he did threaten me with my life. He said that he was going to send me back, you know, deported back to my country because he knows a friend that lives up the street that lives for the INS, that he knows the system much better than I do, and that he is not afraid to take me in pieces.
Okay.
And because I was afraid of my life, I did try to get legal counsel, and they told me what to do, and that's what I did. That's why I followed all this process, because I felt, you know, danger for my life and for my daughter, not just, you know, physically, but also by my daughter's health, because this man over here is taking medication for tuberculosis, and he can also infect my daughter with it.
If you knew what you were talking about, you wouldn't be talking.
What's the medication that you're taking for?
Listen to me, Bird. I think we should have different positions here. Why don't you go over here?
Sure.
I'm not happy with the fact that the two of you share physical custody of a 5-year-old child and can't at least be civil to each other.
Your Honor, I could be totally civil with this man if he would quit running up attorney bills. He claims poverty, but he runs up attorney bills to thousands of dollars. Where does he get this money? He had enough nerve to call my house and ask Melissa for a loan to pay his attorney bills that he's ran up to $10,000 or $12,000.
Which attorney? For which attorney?
For the one over the custody issue. This man, every time you turn around, we're in court. I personally, myself, have paid around $6,000 in attorney bills because of frivolous motions and stuff like this, restraining orders, and then he gets in court and he can't even keep his lies straight, Your Honor. This man compounds lies so bad he can't even remember the first lie he told.
Okay.
If he was so scared that night, Your Honor,
he wasn't so
why
scared.
did he get, well, that's what he claims in the TRO. Why did he get out of his truck?
Why did you approach me to my truck?
You know, why did he, if I had guns and all this other stuff he says, what?
I don't want you to talk to each other.
The only reason he knows I have guns is because of the line of work I'm in. His daughter has never, ever seen a gun in my house, has never seen me carry a gun. I make it a point not to have guns around.
Listen, I strongly urge you, Mr. Gatches, there is a stipulation here. Melissa signed it. It was waiting for a judge's signature, and there is no reason in the world why you should not sign this thing and put an end to the court works amongst you. Do you understand?
I understand, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Fisher.
Yes, Your Honor.
You think that you've acted wholly appropriately, listen to me, wholly appropriately on the evening of August 23rd?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you say anything to him about, if you want a nice car like this, why don't you get a job?
No, Your Honor. What was said was, he says, you think you're somebody because you're a cop and you drive a $40,000 truck. And I simply said to him, I'm sorry you drive a piece of... I wake up every morning and go to work. That's why I drive a new truck. That's exactly what I said.
You can tell that he was using profanity in front of my daughter. Why does he do that?
He may not be perfect, Mr. Gatches. You're not perfect either. We know that. About a lot of things.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
So everything was dismissed. Did you have to hire an attorney?
Yes, Your Honor. This was my job.
Okay.
They took my gun from me.
They did?
Yes, Your Honor.
For how long?
For 11 days, Your Honor.
And how much did you pay the lawyer that you hired?
I paid him $1,300. On top of that, I had a $196 filing fee.
Okay. Mr. Fisher, malicious prosecution suggests that charges were filed that had absolutely no basis, in fact. Was it malicious? I don't think so. I think it was stupid. Mr. Gatches, I believe that Mr. Fisher should not have any out-of-pocket expenses with regard to your complaint against him, and I'm awarding him $1,496 for the charges that you filed against him, which caused him to have to retain counsel. That's the judgment of the court. That's all. Believe me, you'll be much better off if you try to get along. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue. 35-year-old homemaker Sheila Carter is suing 28-year-old pet groomer Lori Wickman for the death of her bird, Misty Blue. Sheila says after Lori clipped the bird's nails, it bled to death.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 251 on the calendar in the matter of Carter versus Wickman. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats, huh?
Ms. Carter, based upon your complaint, I gather that you've used the defendant's services as a pet groomer before for your other animals. Is that right?
Yes, it is. I have. I loved her service on my dogs.
You claimed that you took a parrot or a cockatoo or a big bird that you had to her, and she cut the bird's nails.
Correct.
And the bird bled to death. That's what your lawsuit is about.
That's right.
What kind of bird was it?
A lesser softened crested cockatoo. Big name.
And how much did you pay for her?
I traded a rose embroidery machine. We bartered an even trade for Misty Blue at $1,500. And I've got the papers and I've got the... Your Honor, she told me $1,200.
No. Well, you set the price. You and the person that you bartered with set the price.
Right.
Where'd you buy it from?
Deb Wallstatt, my witness.
Step up, please. You're Deb?
Yes.
How long have you raised these birds?
7 years.
If I went into a pet store to buy one of these birds, what would I pay for it? If I called a local bird store?
$1,600 to $1,800.
And you're a good friend?
No, I've only met her once.
When you sold her the bird, did you give her any instructions on taking care of the bird?
Yes.
Grooming, etc., nails?
Yes.
Etc.? You gave her instructions?
Yes, I gave her a booklet.
Okay, have a seat.
Thank you.
I may come back to you again.
Okay.
So you bought the bird in January of 2000.
That's right.
When did you take the bird to the defendant?
I took it in June on a Thursday. I don't know the date.
So in June, after 6 months. About 6 months, you took the bird
to get her nails trimmed because I have little nieces and nephews, and she's so sweet. She would go to the children, but the children were like 5, so I didn't want her to scratch. So I just wanted her nails trimmed so the children could pick her up. She was just a sweetheart.
Tell me about the conversation when you showed up with the bird.
I asked her if she could trim my bird's fingernail. She said she wasn't really prepared, but sure, we'll do it. Let's do it. She moved the dog off the table, and she put my bird on the table.
And that's how you remember it. She said, I'm not really prepared.
Right. She said, I'm not really prepared. And she had a dog on her table. She put the dog down. She said, let's do your bird. Let's do it.
And what happened when she trimmed the bird's nails?
Big drops of blood. Misty got away from her, fell to the ground, and then she couldn't walk on her nails because she was so hurt. She kind of rolled around.
So the first time she cut one nail, was there any blood?
Gobs. Yes, ma'am.
So
gobs,
why didn't she...
drops.
So after she cut the first nail and there were gobs of blood, why didn't you take the bird and leave?
I did not know that she did anything wrong. You know, I figured she knew what she was doing. It was not an issue to take my bird.
Did you read the book she gave you?
Mm-hmm.
The book say anything about trimming the nails and bleeding?
It was normal. Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
No.
So then she cut the second nail. Was it bleeding?
Mm-hmm.
And then all the bird's nails bled as she cut them?
Yes.
Okay. Then the bird's flailing all over the place. And then what happened?
She did not even have no bird stopper. The ointment to quick or powder to stop the blood. She had a little container with empty, and she kept taking my Misty Blue and she kept rubbing its nail like this, and there was nothing to help my Misty Blue.
And then what happened?
I picked Misty Blue up and I left, and she invited me to a lingerie party. I could just pay her there at the lingerie party that night.
So you took the bird and you put the bird in the car?
Yep.
And
I was going to take Misty Blue home. When I got Misty Blue to my house, Misty Blue was dead. And I went and buried Misty Blue in my backyard.
Did you call
the
defendant?
Yes, I did.
What did you tell her?
I told her Misty Blue died. She told me she was going on a wedding, a marriage.
Yes.
And that was it. She would deal with me 10 days when she got back. She was getting married. She had no time for Misty Blue's death.
Okay, let's hear your version of the events, which is somewhat different from the plaintiff's.
Thank you. Everything so far, I disagree with almost all of it. First of all, it was the beginning of April. It was 2 weeks before my wedding. She didn't come into my shop. She walked to my front door. My place of business is my home. Met her at the front door. I said, I don't do birds. I'm a custom dog groomer. Take it to a vet. The local vets will not do nail cutting. You have to take it to an avian veterinarian. Well, she didn't want to do that. She didn't have money, blah, blah, blah. Please,
Well, what did you say? Now, shh, shh.
Okay, I didn't
interrupt. Don't interrupt.
As a friend, please do me this favor as a friend, as a friend. And I said, as a friend, I will do it. I'm not going to charge you any money.
Ms. Carter,
I will do it as
stop
a friend.
sighing. This is not a presidential debate. Go ahead.
She brought the bird down. I did not put the bird on a grooming table. I said, if I'm going to do this, I want you present, not only present, but to be involved in the clipping. And she held the bird in her hands while I clipped the nails. And as I was paring them back slowly, taking piece by piece on the first nail, she stopped me and said, no, 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 I want them shorter than that. Cut them shorter. And I said, Sheila, they're going to bleed. No, 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 it always does that. That's normal. That's no big deal. It does that all the time. So I took
Am I
it back
saying
a little
this to you? Now listen to me, Miss Carter. Do
That's
not
right. That's
speak.
what you said. I then continued on clipping the nails. I told her, I explained to her that, you know, they're going to bleed. I had plenty of quick stop. I run a full-service grooming salon. I did stop the bleeding immediately. Every nail that was clipped was then, you know, cauterized with the quick stop.
They're not supposed to bleed.
Oh, they do bleed if you cut them back that far.
No, no, I understand. If you cut them back that far, of course, if you cut somebody's nail that far, you get the skin, they bleed.
Right, right.
She was telling you cut them shorter and shorter, and you were cutting them shorter and shorter, and the bird was bleeding.
And I told her, I said, I'm doing this under protest, Sheila. I don't want to cut them that short. And she said, oh, they're really, really long. I don't care if they bleed.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I finished with the nail clipping. The bird was full of blood. She dropped it twice. I had her holding the bird. She dropped it twice on the floor. Then when she was gathering the bird back up, she got blood on the bird, and it was a white bird. So she wanted to bathe it. Well, you don't bathe a bird in a dog tub, but she wanted to do it. Can I please use your tub? I said, well, you can do it yourself, but I'm not going to do it. I don't want to be liable. And she said, that's fine. And she used the tub. She used the tub with my huge, I mean, I have a commercial dog grooming tub with the big sprayer. She sprayed that little tiny bird with this heavy-duty sprayer, got it wet to the skin, which you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to spray them with a mister. I have bird books. I've got stuff, magazines showing that you are supposed to mist a bird down or put them in a bird bath, which is an inch or two of water, and let them spray themselves and then preen. She didn't believe me, whatever. She was just very persistent on the fact that she was going to wash her bird. So she washed her bird. Then I gave her a towel to dry it with. I walked out of the room because I had company, and I heard the kennel dryer turn on.
She's nuts.
Whatever.
This girl,
You're
I told
wacky.
you. Off the wall.
I told you.
I'll shut up.
Good.
Judge Judy continues. Sheila Carter says pet groomer Lori Whitman clipped her bird's nails, causing it to bleed to death. Lori says she warned Sheila she had no experience with birds.
Go ahead.
So then I ran in and took the bird out and wrapped it in a towel. And I said, you have to keep this bird wrapped in a towel. It's going to be cold going home, but get it home, put it in a cage, cover the cage so that it reduces the bird's stress. At that point, she said, no, I don't need to do that. And she took the towel off and left it there. I said, Sheila, keep the towel. You can have the towel. I don't care. Just, keep the bird wrapped in a towel because it will get cold. She left my house with her windows rolled down about this far. And for a draft of
What did I drive, honey?
You drove
what
a truck.
vehicle?
Miss
A
Carter,
pickup truck.
one more time,
Okay,
and
I'll
you're out of
shut
here.
up.
I'm telling you.
I know.
No. Listen to me.
I
Look
know.
at me. One more time, you're dismissed and out of here. Go ahead.
So she left with the windows down, and I turned to my company, and I said, that bird's not going to live. She left without a towel wrapped around it. It was cold. It was the 1st of April in Minnesota. And she left with that bird not wrapped up in a towel. It was wet to the bone. And if you expose a bird to high or fluctuations in temperature, it can cause severe shock and even death. And I'm almost positive that that's what the bird died from. I don't think it bled to death because it would have died immediately instead of dying 40 minutes later. It was fine until she put it in the tub and then in the dryer. And that was just ridiculous.
Let me see if I can draw you an analogy. Can you imagine taking your father to a doctor? Let's say a doctor who was a podiatrist, takes care of feet.
Yeah.
And said he needs surgery bypass surgery. The podiatrist said, I've never done that before. And you said, well, we're here already. Are you following where I'm going?
I see where you're going.
Just do me this favor. I have real confidence in you. You know more about medicine than I do, so just take care of it. Isn't that what you did?
In a way, yes, I did. But I did
Yes, you
not
did.
portray myself as knowing anything about the bird.
You don't,
told
just a
her I
second. You don't have to. Podiatrist doesn't say I know anything about hearts. That's what you did with this bird. According to you. I'm taking your scenario as true. I think that there's a mix of both in what these two stories are. I do believe you said to her, I don't cut birds' nails. I'm a dog groomer. And I do believe she said to you, yeah, but I'm here and the bird's nails need to be cut. Come on, we'll do it together. You didn't want to do it. She twisted your arm.
I was trying to be nice.
My bird.
Shh. Oh, you were almost out. You almost did it. She took the bird to you because you are a groomer. Her head, you groom dogs, you cut their nails, you can groom birds and cut their nails. So she took the dog to you because of your, in her mind, expertise. And all you had to do was say no.
I did.
But you did it. That was wrong. That was wrong. People have the ability to say no and mean it. No, I'm sorry, Sheila. I don't do that. As much as I like you, you have to take the bird someplace else. End of conversation. Come to my lingerie party. We'll have a good time. So as nice a lady as you are responsible for the death of this bird. Judgment for the plaintiff and the amount of the request, which is $1,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I do hope that if she does get another bird, she'll at least educate herself on how to take care of it.
I am so happy for the verdict. I won my Misty Blue. I love my Misty Blue.
And now the next case.
All parties on Brownback versus Winters. Step forward.
73-year-old Roberta Bromback is suing homemaker Barbara Winters for a fender bender in the parking lot of a Goodwill. Barbara says she never hit her.
Miss Bromback, according to your complaint, the defendant hit the bumper of your car.
Yes, ma'am.
And damaged it. You want her to pay for the damage.
Yes.
She says she did nothing. And she, in addition, fled the scene, according to you.
Yes.
When did this incident occur?
I think it was on the 8th or 9th of September.
Where?
I had a lady with me, a friend of mine, who is blind from a stroke, and we were giving some stuff to the Goodwill. We were parked in behind the Goodwill, and I was putting her back in my car. All of a sudden, my car reared up. She was very frightened, and I turned around, and I looked, and I said to her, hey, she was moving. After she straightened out her car, I said, you hit my car. She stopped, looked at me, and went like this. Well, I got angry at this, and I dropped the wheelchair, and I got her license number, and I turned her into the police station as a hit and run.
Do you have a copy of that report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
That's where the police call me to identify her. And these are appraisals. These are pictures.
Okay, so what did you do after you got the information from the police department?
I was told I had to go down to the police station, and she told me that I had to identify her. Well, I went in, she had 6 pictures, and immediately I said, it's number 1. And she said, are you sure? I said, yes. And she said, well, that's her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was afraid if I got out, she might get violent or something. Well, she's waving around and yelling.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 73-year-old Roberta Bromback is accusing Barbara Winters of hit and run. Roberta says Barbara backed into her car and fled the scene.
Go ahead.
Then she gave me that paper you have and said for me to call her and see if she wanted to settle this in a civil manner. I called her and I asked her. She told me she didn't know what I was talking about. She's sick. She went on. And I said, well, ma'am, I'll call you later date. And I called her again. Then she said, I want your phone number, your car license, what kind of car you got, and where you live. I said, fine. I'll be glad to give it to you. And then from there, she didn't want to pay me, so I filed small claims on her.
Okay. Miss Winters, September 8th, in the parking lot, right outside of Goodwill. You were there?
Yes, I was.
Okay. What kind of car were you driving?
A Mercedes 300D, a burgundy color car.
And tell me about what your recollection is of the incident that involved the plaintiff's car.
Okay, I had dropped some stuff off at the charity, and I'm quite familiar with this place because I often take things to the charity. And I was backing up, and all of a sudden I hear somebody banging on the back of my car and yelling and acting crazy. She said something about, "You touched my car." And I was a little scared because when people start to act crazy like this, I get worried because we had an incident with one time where my husband, the back of his car was touched. He was parked, and the people came out and said, "Look, come check the back of your car." And he did. And when he gets back into his car, and he found out that his briefcase had been stolen. So you
didn't think this little old lady is going to steal your briefcase?
I didn't really know.
You don't mind it like that. You know what I mean.
You're right.
You know what I mean. She's
But
not going to
Your
steal
Honor,
your property.
I did not act crazy.
Right.
Anyway, I've had a few unpleasant experiences like this.
So you left.
So I left, and I did not do this. I think I maybe did this. In other words, calm down. It's okay. But I did not feel that I had touched her car. And I was afraid if I got out, she might get violent or something. I didn't see anybody. Well, she's waving around and yelling. So.
All right, so you're contacted by the plaintiff sometime later. Is that right?
Yeah, I got a letter from the police department, actually.
Okay, and what did you do?
I thought, oh, I wonder if it was that little thing where that lady banged on the back of my car. And I looked at the back of my car, and I saw no indication of any bumping or anything. I have a rubberized kind of a car, and there's no way that the damage that I've been accused of could have happened. So I went to the police department, and the detective interviewed me, and we took a look at the back of my car, and she said, "No, I don't see any evidence of any damage to the back of your car." And I do have a statement actually from her, and I do have some pictures of my car.
Okay.
Oh, and then I have the pictures, and I think I'll show you the pictures. One is the rear bumper of my car, which you will see has no contours on it. There's no metal. And then there's a picture of her car, and there's a picture of the scrapes to her car, which look like they could be taken care of with a spray can, because there's no dents on her car.
You drive a Buick Century?
Yes, Your Honor. I gave her my home address, my license number of my car, in good faith. Last Sunday, this lady came to my house. The neighbor upstairs saw her. She took her Mercedes bumper to bumper and hit me again to take pictures.
No, she didn't hit you. What she did was listen to me. She didn't hit your car. What she did was she put a bumper to bumper
right.
to see if there was a place.
So, you know.
Whatever. Listen, she's entitled to do that. That's a very smart thing to do. She said, if I'm being accused of something, I want to see if it's possible.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Look, Miss Winters, there isn't a question in my mind that this lady is not crazy and that there were no marks on her car beforehand. She acted responsibly and immediately by going to the police because you took off. You took off, according to you, because you were afraid that she was crazy and that she might do something like steal your briefcase, steal your property, do something else. So you decided not to confront the situation immediately by getting out of your car and going to look in the back and say, listen, let me see the damage you claim that I did, which would have resolved this whole dispute. If you had stopped immediately, gotten out of your car, I assume you have a cell phone, right? If you're afraid of her, you say, just a minute, I'm not getting out of my car, I'm calling the police. We'll wait for the police to arrive. Possibility?
Possibility.
But you decided not to do that. You just decided to take off. You owe her $410 for the repairs to her car. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. Shirley Wilson is suing former friend, 27-year-old student Frances Pierce, for the cost of caring for Frances's baby for 2 years.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 108 on the calendar in the matter of Wilson versus Pierce. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Wilson, according to what I've read, you knew the defendant through a niece of yours.
Yes.
The defendant had 2 children, and she found herself pregnant.
Yes.
And had very little money. So far correct?
No, ma'am.
Had a lot of responsibility.
Yes, ma'am. But it was financial responsibility.
And a decision was made between the two of you that you would take the baby, right?
Yes, yes.
According to you, you kept the baby for 2 years.
Yes.
Little girl?
Yes.
Raised her in your home?
Yes.
With the expectation that you were going to be keeping her?
Yes.
And then you had to register her for daycare. You notified the state that her survivor's benefits, because her father was deceased?
Yes, her father was deceased.
Should be transferred to you.
Yes.
And that when Miss Pierce found out that you had done that, she came and took the baby back.
Yes.
And you want to be compensated for the 2 years that you supported this child. That's what your lawsuit is about.
Yes.
Right?
It is correct, Judge Judy.
Miss Pierce, according to you, nothing could be farther from the truth. Miss Wilson did not raise this child. The child lived with you always.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Miss Wilson, during what stage of the pregnancy did you make arrangements with Miss Pierce to take the baby?
At delivery.
At delivery?
At delivery.
Were you in the hospital when the baby was born?
Yes, I was.
Do you have any other children?
Yes, I have 6 other kids.
Are they all grown?
No.
How old are they?
Starting from 4 to 14.
Could you tell me why you chose to take on this additional responsibility?
Because I love kids, and the 6 that I have, it's not biological mine, and
they're not biologically yours.
No, not biologically.
Are they adopted children?
No, just some kids are keeping until their parents can get on their feet and they come and pick them up.
Do you work?
Yes, I work for the Wake County Public Schools.
Who takes care of these children when you're working?
Daycare.
Do you get any assistance from the state for them?
No, because I don't have legal custody of them.
And how long has the 14-year-old been with you?
Oh, she was 6 weeks old.
Is that you? Step up here.
That's my daughter, Tabitha.
Tell me your first name.
Tabitha.
Tabitha. Do you see your biological parents? You do?
Every other week.
Do you go to their house?
Mm-hmm.
You stay with them for a weekend?
Yes, sometimes.
But you've been living with Miss Wilson since you're a baby.
Mm-hmm.
She take good care of you?
Mm-hmm.
How do you do in school?
Good.
Do you help take care of the younger ones?
Mm-hmm. I love them to death. I love little children.
Do you know Miss Pierce's baby?
Yes, ma'am.
What's her name?
Diamond.
Do you remember when Diamond came to live with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about that.
She had called us to come to the doctor because she was about to deliver Diamond. So I went with my mom, woke me up, we got dressed, and we went to the hospital. Francis told the doctors to hand her over to my mom when she came out, and my mom walked around and held her, and she smiled at me and my mom. And then that's when they put her in a little bed, and then we all went home. Then 2 weeks later, she called for us to come and get Diamond.
Did Diamond live in your house all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Have a seat. You got no support from this child at all during the time she was with you?
No, I didn't. Not at all.
And tell me what happened after 2 years, Miss Wilson.
I told Francie that I need to put Diamond into...
This is Francie.
This is Francis. I need to put Diamond in daycare, and I needed $90 to do so. And, well, that didn't work. So I went down to Social Security and filed for Diamond's SSI to come to where Diamond lived, which is my address. I had that done, and then I went back home. In about 2 hours, I called Frances and told her what I had done, and if she rejected, I wouldn't get it, but if she didn't, I would get it for Diamond. And she said, no, you can't, because this is what I need over here. But I said, well, Diamond don't live over there. Diamond lives here. So I'd say an hour, 2 hours, the Raleigh police come to pick her up. That was April the 28th this year, 2000. And I haven't seen her since then, but I want to see my baby. That's my daughter. I mean, she had her, and I love this baby. I want to see the baby. I want to see her.
Miss Wilson, what do you do for the school system?
I'm a teacher's assistant.
You don't have any court papers for any of your children that are living with you?
No, no court papers, no legal documents.
No guardianship papers?
No.
Tell me why, Miss Wilson. You are not an unintelligent woman. you know that if you have children living with you, for instance, if they need to go to the doctor, and you have to sign a consent form for the doctor to take care of them, who signs that form?
I do. I signed the form.
But you don't have the legal right to sign the form unless you have these papers for your kids. Certainly, this young lady has been with you for all of her life. You are her mother in every real sense of the word. But you should have some papers for her. There are ways that you can get assistance for these children to make your life a little more comfortable.
Judge Judy, the 5 kids, well, the 6 that I have, their mom, they cooperate with me. And when we correspond together, they sign papers, they give me money for them. And that's one reason why, because I didn't want to sign the legal papers for them, because they cooperate. We would talk, and we just got along great. But when it comes down to Miss Francis, we just couldn't communicate. And I love my daughter. That's my daughter.
Well, Miss Wilson, if she did live with you for that 2-year period, and she did not live with her mother, and if you want to fight for custody of her, I believe that you have the right to do that. I can't tell you what the outcome of that case would be, Miss Wilson, but there are certain rules with regard to parenting. You cannot leave your child with someone else for 2 years and just decide to take her back. The court, however, Miss Wilson, will look into your current situation with the other children that you have in your house, and they're going to scratch their heads like I am and say, listen, either this woman should be nominated for sainthood or there's something wrong with her. I have a feeling it's the former rather than the latter, because it seems that you have a working relationship that most courts can't work out for at least 14 years with regard to having a nice relationship with your biological parents, but knowing that you have a secure, stable home with you.
Judge Judy Wilson is suing former friend, 27-year-old Frances Pierce, for the cost of caring for Frances' baby.
All right, Miss Pierce, let's hear your side of the story.
Yes, ma'am. I was introduced to Miss Wilson. I was 6.5 months pregnant. At the time, Diamond's father was going through some problems himself. He was dealing with drugs, staying in and out of prison. And at that time, I had just moved. I was going through a lot of stress. I found out I was pregnant. I didn't go get any prenatal care until I was 6.5 months pregnant, because I didn't want to realize that I was actually having another child, just getting myself back on my feet, getting in good, doing good. I said, I don't really want to have this baby. I don't want to abort, okay? I want to find another situation. We sat down, we talked. She'd come to my house. I would go visit her. We talked about maybe giving up for an adoption. I said, well, okay, right now, in the situation I'm in, I can't deal with her father. I know I'm not going to get any help. I'm just getting off of assistance, and my goal is to keep going. I don't want assistance anymore.
Okay, but you had already talked to Miss Wilson with the idea that she would adopt your baby.
Yes, ma'am. But
okay.
She knew, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, then when Miss Wilson came up, that's true, her and the daughter came up and Diamond was born. She did hail Diamond. They talked or whatever. After that, I did not see Miss Wilson anymore till Diamond was like maybe 3.5 weeks old. She did not keep Diamond. Diamond went with Felicia Wilson and her mother. Social service paid them to keep them, because at that time I was working at Winn-Dixie and I was cleaning buildings at night.
What happened after 3 weeks, Miss Pierce?
I went to work. I went back to work.
And
started
who
back
took
working.
Diamond after 3 weeks?
She stayed in my home, but Felicia Wilson and her mother, social service paid them to keep her while I worked.
Well, tell me under what circumstances she started to stay with Miss Wilson.
Miss Wilson came by and said her school donated a whole bunch of clothes and stuff for Diamond, brand new clothes. She said, Frances, I understand the situation you're in. She said, we'll sit down and talk about it. Right now it's probably not the right time to talk about it. She said, but I will agree to let Diamond stay in my home if you need it. I said, well, right now I don't really need her to stay overnight. I just need help with daycare until they will approve me to get it, because at that time my assistance was ran out. I wouldn't even be able to apply for any more. When Diamond got 9 months old, she said, I'm attached to her and I cannot let her go. If we want to do it another way, we can do it. If you don't want to do it the legal way. And I told her I wouldn't do it the legal way because I felt guilty with myself. I can't give her up like that because she got sisters and brothers, and it will break their heart when she leaves to go over there for the weekend or during the day. They run to her. They want to go with Shirley. Shirley has taken them with her, and she has babysitted my other 2 kids while I work, and I work down the street from her apartment, cleaning. She would come and get my kids. When I get off work, I would go back up the street to get them. I wouldn't apply for child care. They approved me child care for all of my kids,
under the agreement, if I went back and got some trade in school, I did. Went to CET and graduated in medical
Where
billing.
was Diamond living from the time she was 9 months old?
Off and on between both of our houses during the weekend. She stayed
Not,
with me during the
you don't mean during the weekend.
During
You
the
mean
week, Diamond stayed in my home. If she wasn't there babysitting with them, she stayed because Ms. Wilson worked at school. She's a janitor at Wake County. She worked, so how could she keep her in her home when the other kids are in school?
Okay. You have things that you want to
Yes,
show me?
I have. When I first put Diamond in daycare, I have the daycare papers each day coming home telling me about. I also have Diamond's birth certificate. I have Diamond from birth to 2 years old in pictures.
Let me see. Judge Judy, the papers she has is the papers when a kid come home from school, it's in the bag. They will say, we need Pampers,
Well,
we need
I
wipes.
understand exactly what it is. I
Okay.
have grandchildren.
And I have
who
the
go to
same
daycare.
papers she has.
Well, let me see them.
I have an application for when I went.
No, show me the bag.
No, I don't. It's a bag. It's a book. You know, your bag.
I understand that. Show me the stuff that came out of the bag that says you picked her up from daycare.
I don't have. She ran on a van. She rode on a van. Transportation was provided for Diamond in her cubby bag. Everything wherever they say her daily. She did this today. She ate this today. We need Pampers. We need wipes. Yeah, I know that. Please send. No one had to sign for that. That was just a daily routine for them.
I understand that, but she has it in her possession.
Because when she would call and tell Mr. Mills, I'm coming to pick Diamond up, he would give her the whole bag with the Pampers and everything.
So
in it.
she came to pick the child.
Yeah, in the evening, yes.
She came to pick the child up in the evening.
Yes, ma'am. After she would call me.
Just a second. If she was picking her up in the evening, that suggests to me that she slept at her house.
Sometimes, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She went back and had Child Protective Service put on me, Social Security. They cut my daughter's benefit. I could not afford to pay her daycare. They was not only just helping her go to daycare, they was helping my other 2 kids.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shirley Wilson claims 27-year-old mother, Frances Pierce, owes her for 2 years of child care.
So she slept at her house, according to these papers, at least half the time.
No, ma'am.
You know, according to these papers, if she were picking her up in the evening.
Judge Judy, can I explain something?
Yeah.
The way that it works in Raleigh, if I'm at work, I have to sign a statement stating who's authorized to release my kids off the van, which at that time was Mr. Napoleon Mills, was my fiance.
He's not your fiance anymore?
No, ma'am. He, at that time, had to work himself. So she will call me and say, Frances, I'm going to come by. I will call Napoleon. Shirley's coming by. Just give her the bag. Everything is in the bag.
Okay, Miss Pierce, right now we have the following problem. We have a problem with Miss Wilson and your daughter Diamond, who were clearly attached to each other, not seeing each other since April 28th. For whatever reason, for whatever anger you may have with each other.
None. I don't have any anger towards her.
Great. You got attached, she got attached. There was a time in the beginning that you were going to let her adopt this child.
Yes, ma'am.
She, even for a short period of time, was laboring under that assumption until you felt as if you couldn't do it legally, according to you, but you would do it in spirit because she could come and take her whenever she wanted to, and she could be as an involved parent as she wished. So she was really doing a good thing because you were at a stress time. But right now your daughter has an attachment to her, and it's not the right thing for her not to see her. It's not the right thing.
I understand that. Okay. It was just the fact that I didn't like the procedures after I told her no. She went back and had Child Protective Service put on me, Social Security. They cut my daughter's benefit. I could not afford to pay her daycare. If she didn't go, they was not only just helping her go to daycare, they was helping my other 2 kids. When they take one out, that means the other 2 come out. That means I have to stop working. I got to depend on other people. I explained that to her. I had to go to legal aid, get lawyers and things.
Okay.
I mean, I understand what she's doing. I have no problem with her seeing Diamond. Diamond loves her to death, but I just did not like the fact that she did not ask me for $90. I paid $191. So giving her $90 ain't no big thing to me. But why should I give it to her when she worked the same time I do?
You have no problem with Diamond spending some time with Miss Wilson as
During
she
the day,
had.
not overnight.
Okay?
Okay, that's fine. Great.
All right.
Love that.
Now, are you going to be able to work out informally Diamond spending, say, the weekends at Miss Wilson's house?
The weekends. Her biological grandmother has her for the weekends, on the weekends, because they don't have no bond since her father's been dead.
So you mean just recently she's been spending time with her biological grandmother?
Yes, ma'am, she has.
Judge, she don't know her biological grandmama.
That's why she's spending time with her grandmother. Because her father and his mother never got along. She's going through a thing herself. She's not going to live too long. And I feel my commitment to her is to let her at least bond with her biological. I don't have a problem with her seeing her. She knows her she knows her biological grandmother. She took her down to her biological grandmother's house to visit her.
Miss Pierce, I have a sense that you are struggling, doing well, but struggling with these 3 kids. Because if Diamond's biological grandmother didn't bond with her because she didn't see her for 2 years, and now Diamond is not with Miss Wilson on the weekends, so you really needed somebody else to fill in. So you're getting, so the biological grandmother is a very good vehicle to fill in. That's not right for Diamond.
No, that's not the way it was.
That's not right for Diamond. Well, that's pretty much what you said. She said she hasn't bonded with her biological grandmother, so now she's doing it.
Because of her father.
Well, how long is her father dead?
He's been dead for 2 years.
He's been dead for 2 years.
Yes, ma'am.
So for the last 2 years, she hasn't been seeing Diamond every weekend.
No, she's been seeing Diamond off and on. Ms. Wilson set it up to her.
Off and on.
Yes, ma'am.
Not every weekend.
No, ma'am.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
So you make arrangements with Miss Wilson. Do it. Because I have a sense that if she believes that Diamond is being well taken care of.
I don't, Judge.
Well, if you don't, then you have to do something, Miss Wilson.
Okay.
If you don't, then I've told you what you have to do.
Okay, I'll do